978-6737. You can also email them, and they have a website. We don't want folks who are struggling to feel like they're alone, and Recovery Connect is ready to help. All you have to do is give them a call. Any questions?
Certainly. Commissioner Meitzner.
Excuse me. Thanks for the information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your previous slide, just to make sure that 3,600, 5,500, that's a month.
That's a month.
Right. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So they can get up to 7325 over a year's time in relief?
You know, I think it's a one-time grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. And I know that we have members of the WSU Tech here, and just at our last board meeting, we talked about the challenge at the WSU Tech student area. Some of the teachers and staff, but even some of the board members there were, Textron and others were talking about the challenge of childcare. So Andy, maybe we need to make sure we get this message out within our within your circles. So thank you.
We really want to do everything we can to keep those child care providers in business and prospering.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for letting me say a few things.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions.
Commissioners, just real quick, we're having some technical difficulties. KPTS is down for just a second, but we are, can you turn that down for me? Turn that mic down. KPTS is now back up. We're resetting Facebook and YouTube, but we are streaming, Commissioners. Let's now move into the next portion. Every year, thousands of students apply and are accepted to the college of their choice. Today, we are highlighting some of those students who decided to take their talents to WSU Tech with a video.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Angie Evans, and I'm the Creative Director and Marketing Strategist at WSU Tech. Thank you for allowing me to come present on behalf of WSU Tech some exciting updates that we have, the first being Signing Day. If you're not familiar with Signing Day, National Career Technical Education Signing Day is an event held in partnership with the National Coalition of Certification Center. It is designed to honor students who commit to career and technical education in the next year in a way that athletes are honored when they sign up for college. This year, 66 community and technical colleges across the nation participated in National CTE Signing Day. Is that better? 2022 marks the 8th year WSU Tech has participated by holding an event to celebrate local high school seniors and offer them a $1,000 scholarship to commit for those who commit to attending WSU Tech in the fall. This event requires countless hours of preparation by the WSU Tech Strategic Communications, High School, and Student Services teams. This year, we had 235 registrants for the event. Some of those were duplicates. 187 students attended Signing Day from roughly 55 area high schools in a 2-day event on March 29th and 31st across 3 different campuses. As of April 18th, 233 of those students had a current application on file and 113 advising appointments were made. Some of those students not included in those numbers were current Jumpstart students that were already enrolled in classes that had class visits to enroll. As of May 2nd, Signing Day students make up a total of just under 3,000 credit hours, which breaks out to 107 students, or 1,486 credit hours enrolled for the fall, 63 students, or 920 credit hours enrolled for the spring, and 40 students, or 465 credit hours enrolled for the summer of 2023. During the 2-day event, over 1,600 images of families and students were shot that took 4 days of editing and slide making in preparation for the live broadcast. The Signing Day broadcast premiered at 10 a.m. on April 14th on the college's Facebook and YouTube channels. Preparation for the broadcast included 2 months of scheduling and pre-production planning, 12 talent connections, and 11 shoot locations and times. Caitlin Slimp, which is our video producer and digital marketing content creator at WSU Tech, directed, produced, and edited over 30 hours of footage, with over 60 hours included in that editing and over 11 hours of interviews and B-rolls in just 8 days. So we're going to show you this small condensed version of this Signing Day recap video. If you will put it up, please.
Hey, can you give me $1,000? We're here at Signing Day 2022.
We're giving away $1,000 scholarships to students all across our city.
I just got a $1,000 scholarship.
I just got $1,000 for signing.
I'm here for the $1,000.
Let's go.
Hi, my name is Grant and I go to Circle High School.
Demetrius Dixon, Mays High School.
Campus High School.
Goddard High School.
My name is Ashley and I go to North.
Flint Hills High School.
I go to Cheney High School.
My name is David Campos and I go to South High School.
My name is Anna and I go to Great Bend High School.
I'm interested in the culinary arts program here at WSU Tech.
I'm doing automotive and alternative fuels.
Police Science.
AMT program.
CNC machining.
Digital marketing.
The Certified Nurse Aide program.
I'd like to go into the welding program.
Interior design.
That tech program.
I will be attending the surgical tech program.
My hope for the future is work on airplanes.
I want to be an architect.
I would like to be a travel nurse.
Become a police officer.
I want to teach secondary education.
I want to own my own bakery.
If you put in the hard work, everything's going to pay off.
A couple years ago, I definitely would not have seen myself in college, so to see myself here now is pretty cool.
It's a good day. Pretty happy, it's pretty exciting.
I'm here for the money.
I'm excited for my future.
I just love free money.
We're going to take it to the bank.
We're going to make it rain.
Let's give away some money. It's National Signing Day.
Thank you. So always a very exciting event. You can watch the full 30-minute broadcast on our website, which is wsutech.edu/signing day. It's about 30 minutes, but I highly encourage you to watch it to see some of those families and see the needs that are coming up. It's just truly awesome. So the next thing I'll talk about is Wichita Promise. If you wouldn't mind backing up one slide, please. Thank you. If you don't know about Wichita Promise was launched by WSU Tech, then WATC, in 2016. The goal of Wichita Promise is to remove barriers that keep individuals from getting the education they need to enter the workforce and meeting local industry demand. This program promises 4 things: tuition and fees paid for a certificate of completion or technical certificate, training and certifications in high-demand jobs, personal career coaching, and a guaranteed interview with one of our industry partners upon completion. Since its creation, WSU Tech has awarded $1.6 million in scholarships to nearly 1,000 students. WSU Tech can award these scholarships by generous industry and community donations and support from our WSU Tech employees that is currently totaling around $343,000. So thank you for all of those. We are currently offering a summer session. It's only the second time in its history that we've had this scholarship program for the summer. The eligible programs are picked each semester based on industry need. Programs for the summer include Certified Nurses Aide, Composite Fabrication, Aviation Sheet Metal Assembly, and CNC Operator, with all of the classes beginning in May and June. This program's soft launch on the website was on April 8th with a full program announcement, including a press release that went out on April 14th. This gained earned media coverage from KWCH in ways of a Building You Future and an interview. CAKE, KSN, KFDI, and Wichita Business Journals all did interviews and web stories. Between April 14th and May 3rd, Wichita Promise applications totaled for the summer session were 718. This includes 250 applications for CNA, 46 for composites, 132 for CNC operator, and 115 for aviation, which is aviation sheet metal. As with previous Wichita Promise sessions, the Student Services team at WSU Tech will work with prospective students that indicated on their application interest in a different program than listed in the eligible programs. We have seen in the past many individuals from this group qualify for financial assistance, such as Pell Grant, and they can enter another program with the financial barrier removed in that case as well. Paid digital advertising on Facebook and Instagram started the week of April 18th and is currently running. As of May 3rd, they have been seen over 223,000 times with about 6,000 clicks to the website. Organic video posts were placed on TikTok and Instagram, resulting in nearly 5,000 video views. We're excited to also let you know that we will be offering Wichita Promise in the fall, and more information will be available for that after the summer classes begin. Any questions on Wichita Promise?
Well, super. We appreciate you bringing this information to us. In a former life, I was a career and tech ed teacher, so I know how important it is to get career and tech ed because that's the future for a lot of our students that are coming out of high school. So thank you very much for what you do. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I do have one more quick update for you. It's an exciting update about niche. As many of you know, this fall, WSU Tech will be opening the National Institute for Culinary and Hospitality Education, or as we like to call it, niche. It's in downtown Wichita on the corner of Broadway and William, which is 1 block south of Douglas. It will be home to WSU Tech's culinary and hospitality programs, as well as exciting community resources like a food hall and event center. The sneak peek of the logo here, I've been working with Gardner Design to complete the brand language for niche. We'll have a full visual standards and usage guide available to necessary WSU Tech staff towards the end of June. I've also been working with Jennifer Stanier, Disability Services Specialist at WSU Tech, along with WSU, to introduce area access to all of our WSU Tech campuses, including niche. Can you get to the next slide, please? Thank you. Area access is a technology, is a technology that combines the power of artificial intelligence and augmented reality to provide access to information and assistance for blind and low vision individuals. Users can start a call for free on any of our campuses and have a live human assistant access the user's phone camera to get them to navigate the campus and go where they need to go for safely. Area access has been available for some time at WSU, but now with increased geofencing in place at NCAT, City Center, WSU South, and WSU Old Town. We've also added the niche location to be geofenced, as well as a process for WSU Tech students to reach out to WSU Tech Disability Services Department directly to request an academic user access so that navigating our campuses is free to our students who utilize the service while on campus. And if you want to read more about that, you can go to the website, which is wsutech.edu/area. This is a huge asset for our blind and visually impaired students and our partnership with Envision at Niche. This partnership will allow for blind and visually impaired students to learn not only basic kitchen life skills, but they will also have the opportunity to enroll in our professional culinary program. As construction progresses, Jennifer and I plan to be working more with the consultants at Niche to introduce increased accessibility components at that facility. And then the next thing I'll show you is the sneak peek of the sign that will be going on at that facility. The niche sign follows the Historic Preservation Society's board requirements as it is categorized as a historic location. The dimensions of this sign are roughly 26 feet tall, just under 8 feet wide, and 14 feet deep. So it's going to be a big old sign. The sign is estimated to be complete and installed by the end of June prior to classes starting in the fall. And there's one more slide that shows the sign illuminated. And then the next slides, this is the front of the building where that blade sign is going to be installed. So there's just some sneak peeks of the construction going on at Niche. Next slide, please. This will be this is the lower level in the BVI Bistro, which is on the main level. Next slide, please. Culinary theater and second floor mezzanine. That area is going to be all glassed in. So from the second floor, you can see the entire first floor food hall, and also you see up into the second floor in the culinary theaters. It's going to be a pretty spectacular view when you walk in. Next slide, please. Third floor, these will be culinary kitchens, classrooms, and conference room. Next slide, please. And then we have the rooftop event center, which will be an indoor-outdoor space that's going to be able to host a variety of different events and hold roughly about 300 people comfortably. Next slide, please. And the exterior probably is going to be one of the best views in Wichita, so it's going to be pretty spectacular. You're going to have a great view of Intrust Bank Arena, the Ambassador, which is right next door, the new DO School, which is right across Broadway. Next slide, please. And that's it. Any questions about that?
Super. Well, recently a lot of the commissioners took a tour of the new DO school, and we were able to look right across the street to see the new school for WSU Tech. And so we're looking forward to the tour that you'll give us in the near future of the culinary school also, and samples will be welcome.
I agree. Thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you may have.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Angie, thanks for being here, and thanks for the staff for being here. And it just as the impact that WSU Tech is having as a college. We keep hearing about all the way about workforce shortage and workforce development. I think I'm glad that we could share with the commission that we've got one entity working hard on workforce and job placement and in a number of fields. So, Angie, thanks for that update. And under other, later on in the show, or today's meeting, I'll talk about the other upcoming events you have in the essence of time. So, thanks again for being here.
Very good, and thanks again for being here. We appreciate it.
Hey, congratulations to Sherry and her entire staff. And if you guys ever need a taste tester, I'm your guy. So, all right. Commissioners, taking a look at today's agenda, we've got a resolution declaring Pat Gallagher Day for her more than 40 years of service to our community, a proclamation declaring Correctional Officers Week, a proclamation declaring National Bike Month, and under new business, there is a county conditional use to permit outdoor shooting and RV campground on property zone RR rural residential, a discussion of the federal legislative platform, and a report of the boards and bids and contracts regular meeting from April 28th. With that, Chairman, I turn the meeting over to you, and my staff made me say this, but may the 4th be with you, sir.
You stole it from me. I was going to start opening the meeting that way, but I'll probably still do it anyway. Anyway, I want to welcome everyone that's in the audience. Our audience is full of dignitaries today, and we appreciate all the folks that are here with us. We will have an off-agenda item just at the beginning of new business. We also have an executive session at the end of the meeting. I also want to recognize Cameron Dawson, who's in the audience. He's a member of my Citizens Advisory Board, and he is here because he's going through a leadership school, and he needs to shadow some leaders, and we have 5 leaders sitting up here on the bench, so I appreciate him being here. And so with that, I will call the meeting to order for May the 4th. Be with you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Invocation to be observed by a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Chairman Dennis.
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
We didn't have anyone sign up online or send anything in, but we do have about 5-6 individuals that have signed up to speak today. Now, some of these may be during some of our agenda items. When I call you, you can just indicate if you want to speak at that time or if you want to speak during an agenda item, and we'll allow you to do that. But the first individual that has signed up to speak today is a friend of mine, and I want to recognize Limbert Cheese, as everyone knows him, Johnson. So welcome.
Good morning, Commission. This is a lovely audience we have here today. And just to be honest, this is shocking to me a little bit, but, when you have friends that you accustomed to seeing, with nice big cheese smiles, it's going to be a great day, but, getting back to the main focus, I have a program, it's called U-Jump, and what that consists of is a diverse program, and it has like the 5th graders and 6th graders, and I'm in 4 schools. The first school is like collegiate. Then the next school, I have 2 schools in Andover, which I checked on all my students and their parents because of the tragedy that we just had. So the next school is Brooks is Brooks and Gordon Parks. Okay, the one I'm getting a little nervous of here, everybody, so, but it's a great program. To be involved in the program, the principals of each school have to choose the students, and I double check in terms of, make sure they're okay. To maintain, stay in the program, you have to have a 2.5 GPA. But the thing about that, if we have students that have like a 1.8 GPA, but they striving, those are the kids we focusing on also, which is very important because they will become our leaders because, like I said, it's a great program. It's one of the best programs because what we do, we take them out on field trips. And the field trips that consist of, instead of individuals coming and speaking to the kids in the classroom, we take them out because that's a bigger impact in terms of they seeing. So we take them out to businesses. We take them out to WSU Tech, which is a good trade, because like I said, everybody here understand and know, college ain't for everyone, but the trade you could carry on lifetime, and that's the things that, we really push forward with these kids today. And it's like I said, it's kids, like no other. And I'm so happy to be involved, with today's youth. And like I said, it's a diverse program. It's from the south side, the north side. We bring everyone together, because that's what life's about. Bringing everyone together. There's no separate this and no separate that, because society is not made like that. So in our program, we bring them together, young as possible, because, let's face it, the earlier you catch kids, the better off. Because once they're in high school, they know everything. Just like my parents used to say, you know everything and don't know nothing. That's my parents used to tell us. So, we catching these kids at an early age. When we go on our field trips, we go by chartered buses. Just to show the kids the impact and the things that's, necessary. We take them to WSU Tech again, so they can use the trade. We took them to Shaka Studio because, kids today, they like to do the animation, and that's a career, going to Shaka Studio. We also took them to the police academy, see what the police officer does and go through their daily. They need to see these things. We took them to the fire department, and when we went to the fire department, it's things that I didn't know. That I learned. Just going there, and I give my kids all the freedom to, because I don't want to be like the only one, the smartest in the room. I listen to kids because they're intelligent also. We don't know all the answers. That's a fact. We don't know all the answers. So I tell the kids, when you listen, you learn. You always got to be a good listener. You can't talk and listen at the same time. This don't work like that. So, going forward, just to end, we have our annual, this is our first year now. So we have our awards event, and it's going to be at Miss Susie's on campus at WSU Tech. So, if y'all have any questions, like I said, I'm just winging it right now. But if you have any questions in terms of, more information about the program, I'm here to answer your questions.
Well, Cheese, you're a great role model, and you do a super job. We appreciate it. You did provide each of the commissioners some information on your junior mentoring program, and on Friday, the May 20th, out at NCAT, you have your first award ceremony from 6. Awards are at 7. Photos and closing are at 8 o'clock.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, it's gonna be really well covered, on this event, because like I said, our program is not like any other because we go behind the scenes and we have a great board and our resources is excellent. So the things that other programs have, we just fortunate just to be, a step ahead, in terms of giving the kids a lot of exposure, to our program. So, like right now we have like 25 kids. We don't want to go over too early because we're figuring it out as we go. Because, once this, get out there, it's going to be like, a little bit too much, all at one time. It might see it on the billboards in Wichita. It's going to be one heck of a program, you know. So, you know, we're just having fun with it. And thanks to Ms. Becker for inviting me here. But I have to go on TV in about 10 minutes. You know, so thank you, Commission, and everyone. Have a great day.
Well, thanks, Cheese. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next individual that's signed up is Sherry Cleveland and Jerry Kindler. State your name for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
We're going to need a little bit more longer than that, Dave. I'm going to have her read this, and then I'm going to discuss what I got to discuss. This has to do with Sedgwick County Zoo. I'm a vendor that's been feeding Sedgwick County Zoo. I raise feeder rabbits, little bunnies to feed the snakes. And go ahead, I'm going to have her read this, and then I'll...
Okay. Hi, my name is Jerry Kindler, owner of JKS Rabbit Ranch, LLC. I have a small farm in Augusta, Kansas. It is 20 miles from Sedgwick County Zoo. I started raising rabbits 7 years ago in hopes to start a business to sell frozen feeder rabbits to all the zoos in Kansas. Feeder rabbits are frozen rabbits with guts and fur processed for zoo animals, not for human consumption. I'm writing you this letter to get some answers. I'm losing my small business due to COVID-19, corporate businesses, and a nonprofit organization, which have received COVID-19 relief and money from the government to pinch me out. I sold frozen feeder rabbits to the Sedgwick County Zoo for 7 years for the price of small $14 each, mediums are $15 each, and large are $16 each, for an average of $800 to $1,000 a month, which would pay for the feed. At this time, I have built my rabbits up thinking I would have Sedgwick County Zoo forever, since I was local and the zoo was so happy with my rabbits. And the zoo didn't have to pay for the freight and being local. Didn't have to buy from the competitor for more money and not knowing if they were out of stock and sign in a non-compete. I've been raising 700 rabbits a month and built a walk-in freezer to hold my inventory to have the rabbits on hand at any amount, at any time, and still find more customers in Kansas. 10 months ago, I called the head zookeeper, Larry, of Sedgwick County Zoo to see if he needed rabbits, and Larry said that someone donated 100 live rabbits and had to process them and bag them himself. Called the next month, Larry said he still didn't need rabbits. So the third month, I called back knowing he would be needing rabbits. Larry answered the phone and handed the phone to Chelsea, his assistant, which I've never dealt with before. At this time, she said, the Sedgwick County Zoo would not be buying rabbits from me, no more. Then she would, excuse me, that she would purchase her rabbits from a company out of Nebraska for $3 a pound, which caught me by surprise. So I asked to talk to Larry. When I talked to Larry, asked him about what was going on, and he said, we didn't have a contract and when with them, and we are a nonprofit, and we can do whatever we want. At this time, I asked Larry what was the name of the company in Nebraska, so I could call them and ask them maybe buy or sell my inventory. Larry wouldn't tell me when he has that information, so I called so I can sell my inventory. My inventory is 2,000 free frozen rabbits at this time. Larry, the head zookeeper at Sedgwick County Zoo, never called me back. I got a hold of Dave Dennis, City Commissioner of Sedgwick County, and asked him if Sedgwick County Zoo could take their business out of state, being a nonprofit, and taking all the revenue to another state, when it can be spent right here local. Dave Dennis said that he would check into it. Dave Dennis, the City Commissioner of Sedgwick County, called me back and asked me if the zoo had called me. I said no. He said okay, and he sounded disappointed that the zoo didn't call me back and hung up. Next day, Larry from Sedgwick County Zoo called me and said if I would match the price of the company in Nebraska of $3 a pound, he would buy rabbits from me. But when he had just bought from the company in Nebraska, and he would not need any rabbits for 3 months. When I called back to ask about the company in Nebraska, so I could sell my inventory in my freezer, which keeps building and costing me $200 to run and maintain. Chelsea, Larry's assistant, said that she called the company in Nebraska and said that they were not interested in buying my rabbits, and then hung up on me. Then I called Dave Dennis, City Commissioner of Sedgwick County, back to set a date and time to meet and discuss this matter. Had a meeting with Dave Dennis, City Commissioner, Jeff Edley, how do you say that? Edley, Zoo Director, me and my wife, Sherry. As we walked to the conference room, Jeff, Zoo Director, asked Dave Dennis, City Commissioner, if he got his tickets to the lights of the zoo. At that time, I knew that the meeting wasn't going nowhere. We went in and sat down. I told them I felt I was discriminated due to all the education on that side of the table, and they laughed at me and then asked me what I wanted. I said for them to buy my lost revenue for 3 months for the inconvenience to me of you all stringing me on and lying to me at regular price after 7 years of selling rabbits, and that you did this during a pandemic when everyone else is getting grants. I'm taking a loss. Then Jeff, Zoo Director, says bottom line is that I didn't have a contract, but would still buy from me if I matched the price. And they don't have to tell who or where they buy their rabbits. When I heard all that, I said wishy-washy and bad business practice, and then meeting was over. Still haven't bought any rabbits from me. It has been 7 months. Well, it's been actually 11 months now. I talked to Dave Dennis and Jeff, and still no buying of rabbits after Dave Dennis and Jeff said they would buy from me. Had to process my herd of rabbits due to nowhere to go with them, which is forcing me out of business. Previous year, Broden Pro, the competitor, came in and bought my extra inventory at half price. And this year, Broden Pro said they would buy my inventory only if I sign a non-compete. And I only sell to them. I told them I wouldn't sign a non-compete because I had other customers. So they said they wouldn't buy my rabbits this year. So that was another $20,000 loss if I don't get help to feed these rabbits to Kansas Zoo. I've contacted Marla, Confield State, David Alfrello, Mark Murphy, Butler Commissioner, Sarah Haymaker, Mike Hannabuck, Small Business Administration. I contacted all these people, and all of them said there might be funds available for my situation if I was to rebuild. At this time, due to the inflation on freight, I just didn't want to lose my money in my inventory. My solution is for Sedgwick County to be forced to buy all of my inventory of 8,000 pounds at $1 a pound, and for me to deliver the frozen rabbits to their facility so I don't have to pay the extra $200 electric bill, and that Sedgwick County Zoo can disperse them as needed to all the zoos in Kansas so I don't have to dig a hole and bury the frozen rabbits and take the loss.
Okay, I turned around and brought this letter to Dave Dennis yesterday. He didn't share it with any other county commissioners. Since then, Jeff Easter has retired or did something that went to another zoo. I think that I've went to the state, I've went to the governor's office. I think that there needs to be an investigation on a nonprofit for bad business practices. And Dave Dennis was in the room when they said they was buying from me. He had a chance to even call and turn around and make this right before we even come to this meeting, but he chose not to. And he didn't share it with any of you either. So I don't know what to do. I've went to the state, I've went to the Department of Agriculture, and all these people that I'm discussing is getting grants and getting Corona money to either move into new buildings or get the zoos getting bunches of grants and everything. That $1 a pound, that's taken, they're selling them for $3 a pound. I'm not wanting nothing for free. I just want to not let the taxpayers turn around and use my money against me. I have 2 residents that I pay taxes on in Sedgwick County, and I don't believe this is fair. And I don't know, like I say, I went to everybody in the possible, all the way up to the governor, to turn around and get somebody to investigate this, and they won't do it. They pass the buck. I'm asking you, who do I get to investigate this? And I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Kindler.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions.
Why not?
Thank you.
You guys have good.
I've got 4 more people. I think that they're all wanting to speak on the rezone. Jack Heffling, Audrey Heffling.
I want to check into it either.
Jake, or John, I can't tell. And Graves. All you want to speak during the rezoning? Does anyone want to speak now? No. Okay, we'll come back to each one of those 4 during the rezoning. Okay, move to receive and file public comments.
Motion, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz. Aye. Commissioner Howell. Aye. Commissioner Lopez. Aye. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
Proclamations. Item A, proclamation declaring Pat Gallagher Day.
Thank you. I've asked Commissioner Meitzner to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a proclamation for Pat Gallagher, who is in the audience. I will read it. Usually proclamations have some whereases that are a lot of stuff and some fluff, but these whereases are very impactful and very impressive. So that said, whereas Pat Gallagher spent nearly 40 years at Wichita Regional Chamber of Commerce, where she dedicated her time and talents to helping businesses in South Central Kansas and fostered strong relationships between community and military members after taking over as the director of the Friends of McConnell 25 years ago. And whereas Pat leaves a legacy of support and corroboration with the McConnell Air Force Base leadership teams and the airmen and women who find themselves stationed in South Central Kansas during their service to our country. And whereas Pat Gallagher has served on United States Senator Jerry Moran's Military Council, the Kansas Governor Laura Kelly's Military Affairs Council, the Kansas Military Alliance, the Air Mobility Command's Civic Council, and a past honorary commander and current Golden Eagle at McConnell Air Force Base. And whereas the United States Air Force awarded Pat Gallagher the Abilene Trophy in 2016 and the Tampa Bay Trophy Award in 2019 for her dedication and support of the local Air Force Base, its airmen and women, their families, the Air Mobility Mission, and the United States Air Force. And whereas Pat Gallagher also served as co-chairperson of the USS Wichita Commissioning Committee, which oversaw the commissioning of the USS Wichita, a Navy littoral combat ship, in 2019 at Mayport Naval Station in Jacksonville, Florida. And whereas Pat Gallagher spent time as one of the leaders working with Sedgwick County and Wichita to bring the Air Force's newest tanker, the KC-46A Pegasus, to McConnell Air Force Base, and this advocacy culminated in McConnell being named the first main operating base to receive this phenomenal aircraft in January 2019. And whereas her dedication has helped connect business and community leaders with service members stationed at McConnell Air Force Base and supported our airmen and women in their critical national security mission, we recognize the pivotal role that Pat Gallagher has played in advancing our community during her tenure at the Wichita Regional Chamber of Commerce. Now therefore be it resolved that Chairman David T. Dennis and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 4th, 2022 as Pat Gallagher Day. My congratulations, Pat. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve this proclamation.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. And before we vote on it, is there any discussion? We want to do it after? That's fine. That's fine. We can do it after. All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And congratulations. We'll start with Commissioner Meitzner.
Pat, thank you, and you'll get to say a few comments, but I want to congratulate you on your retirement and your incredibly valuable value that you added to our community. And I remember the stress we all were under on the when we were waiting on the Pegasus and waiting
Absolutely.
on it, and that was some anxious times. And but your efforts have just been fantastic for all of us, especially the McConnell relationship and the other businesses in South Central Kansas. So my sincere thanks to you when I met you 10 plus years ago, and it's been an honor, and we're going to miss you in your retirement. I hope you're not going somewhere too crazy far. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got involved in politics about 13 years ago, and I didn't really know much about Pat Gallagher at that time, but I quickly learned. She is the champion and the cheerleader of all things, both pro-business at the Regional Chamber of Wichita Regional Chamber of Commerce, but especially with everything related to veterans affairs, military veteran families. They know you because you are deeply involved in making them feel welcome and making them know this is their home, and be very proud of Wichita. And this community has really built a relationship with McConnell Air Force Base because of you and your work. And so I'm kind of speechless because you are truly a legacy, and we're going to. I don't know what your plans are going forward, but I hope you stick around, and I hope we see you around. I honestly have never thought this day would come that you would choose to change roles, because we just depend on you to take that position. So you're irreplaceable as far as I'm concerned. I want to say thank you for all your service. Congratulations on another chapter of your life that's beginning. We're very proud of you, and I want to say thank you sincerely for all you've done for Wichita. You are fantastic, and I will always have the greatest opinion of you as one of the very best people I've ever met in this community. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Pat, unfortunately, you are going to move out of this area. So
Eventually.
We're going to miss you. But your leadership has shown through ever since that I've known you, working with McConnell, and we do have leaders from McConnell here in the audience today, working with the Chamber, and we've got leaders from the Chamber in the audience, and other leaders throughout the community that are here. Just to recognize what you have done. I had the opportunity to work with you as we support McConnell Air Force Base and the USS Wichita. Thank you very much for everything that you have done. We sincerely appreciate it, and great luck. Fair winds, following seas, I'll use a Navy term, as you move forward in your life. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll turn it over to you, Pat.
Well, gosh, I am absolutely honored by this and totally surprised. You know, I've always thought of myself as a very fortunate woman who has had the opportunity to really live my passion, and never thought that I was working at it. It was just a natural thing that I wanted to do, and I was very fortunate to land at the Chamber of Commerce almost 40 years ago, and let my career evolve, actually. So I do have just a couple of stories to tell. But for those of you who don't know the military hierarchy, I guess I'll say, think of McConnell Air Force Base being about here, and AMC one step up, and above that would be the 18th Air Force.
And periodically, the generals of AMC and the 18th Air Force, of course, make a base visit to McConnell. And General Bibb, who is the commander of 18th Air Force, was here a couple of months ago. And a few of us had the opportunity to have dinner with him at a local restaurant. The room we were in was pretty small. We were kind of standing behind our chairs waiting for him to arrive. And one thing about generals, when you're having dinner with a general, be it 2 of you or 20 of you, you're going to have some face time with that person. And so General Bibb started at the end of the room and, one by one came and visited with everybody. And I was at the far end of the room when he got to me. He said, "Pat, Jack over there told me that you were the secret sauce for the KC-46. And I said, "Wow. I think I've been called a lot of things, but I don't know that I was ever called the secret sauce." And he said, "Well, I want to know what's in the secret sauce." And so I told him. And I'm going to tell you. It's very simple. It's this community. And when we began our tanker task force to take our message to the big Air Force and the Pentagon, we knew that we couldn't tell the Air Force anything they didn't know already about McConnell. But we could certainly tell them a lot about this community. And that's what we did. And I don't just mean Wichita when I say community. I am talking about Derby and Andover and Mulvane and all of our surrounding communities, because we all came together on that issue. And it turned out just exactly the way we wanted it. So I think General Bibb found out what the secret sauce was. But about 2 weeks ago, we had a visit from the commander of Air Mobility Command. And once again, we had an opportunity to spend a little time with him. And I noted, as I listened to him talk that evening, that 3, 4, 5 times he said, "This community is the gold standard." And he meant it. I was delighted to hear him say that. But of course, when you are the gold standard, there are a lot of people chasing after you, so we have to be mindful of that. As I said, it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me. I have worked with a multitude of people, and all of them share in this proclamation. I appreciate it deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. We appreciate it. We're going to miss you, Pat. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item B, proclamation declaring Correctional Officers Week.
I've asked Commissioner Lopez to read the proclamation.
Thank you. Whereas in 1984, then-President Ronald Reagan signed Proclamation 1587 creating National Correctional Officers Week. The first full week in May has since been recognized as National Correctional Officers Week to honor the work of correctional officers and correctional personnel nationwide. And whereas dedication of these correctional officers and detention deputies who serve our community quietly take on very difficult and dangerous duties, and whereas we would be unable to operate our adult and juvenile detention facilities and community correctional programs without the hard work of these professionals that staff these facilities 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And whereas Sedgwick County, Kansas is pleased to join in celebrating Correctional Officers Week, recognizing these men and women who risk their lives to serve so diligently and faithfully. Now therefore be it resolved that Chairman David T. Dennis, sorry about that, and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Correctional Officers Week in Sedgwick County and encourage all citizens to honor and show sincere appreciation for the correctional officers who make it possible to keep the detention and correctional facilities safe each day. And I will make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
I second. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And welcome.
Thank you, Commission. Jared Schechter, Jail Administrator for the Sheriff's Office. I'm very pleased to accept this on behalf of Sheriff Easter and myself. We have many deputies working inside our detention facility and a very thankless job in our community, keeping our community safe and also helping our community members while they're in the jail. Jails are part of our community. There's people in our community in there every day, and some people do want to change, and I think we have a great opportunity in our jails to help people who do want to change. As everyone knows, in many of our meetings, we deal with a lot of people with mental health and substance abuse issues inside our jails, so trying to help those people re-enter society and re-enter the rest of to help society and be better when they come out to society is what our goal is. If we didn't have people working in our jails, our criminal justice system would cease to exist in the way it does, because we do need a place to house people who have committed violent crime in our community while they're held accountable for what they've done. So it's a very critical job. It's a thankless job behind the walls, and it's nice to see the proclamation and the thanks during this week. So it's greatly appreciated. Also wanted to mention that we are still hiring in a detention facility to our community. So we were tired of WSU Tech talking about trying to fill jobs, and there's plenty of jobs inside the jail. It's a great career. It's a great place to start. And if anyone wants information, to please get onto the Sheriff's Office webpage or Facebook page. And we're definitely looking to hire right now. But I know Lori Gibbs here from Community Corrections definitely wants us to talk also.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Lori Gibbs, Deputy Director of Adult Programs. We appreciate the Commission recognizing this week in May as National Corrections Officer Week. Each year we set aside this time to recognize the hard work of our frontline staff in our corrections facilities. There's been a lot of talk recently about staff turnover, but today I brought a special guest who represents the many dedicated staff who have chosen to stay through unprecedented and difficult times. Stephanie Mueller is a shift supervisor at our Adult Residential and Work Release program. She has a degree in psychology and served in the Army for 6 years. She started as a corrections officer in 2014 and promoted to her current position in 2016. Stephanie represents the staff who show up day after day, knowing they are likely to be mandated to work overtime because of staff shortages. She represents the staff who have worked 16-hour shifts, sometimes back-to-back, to keep our programs afloat for the past 2 years. She represents the staff who were required to wear full PPE during COVID protocols in order to enter quarantine dorms to serve meals and medications to COVID-positive clients. She represents the staff who work tirelessly to positively impact behavior change in the clients that we serve. She also represents the staff who are watching and waiting to see how we respond to our current staffing crisis and compensation disparities. Stephanie, thank you for being here today to be part of accepting this proclamation on behalf of all of our staff.
Morning, Stephanie.
Say anything?
Oh, okay. No, I think I just came to support this proclamation. We have been recognizing this for years in our facility, celebrating our staff, and I think this is a great proclamation for it to be, have its own week, have its own day. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you, and I want to make sure that everyone knows we are hiring.
That's right.
So if anyone would like a job, we have openings currently.
Thank you.
Please let your staff know how much we appreciate it.
Do you want to mention the hiring bonus? Mention the hiring bonus.
Commissioner Lopez pointed out that we are giving hiring bonuses for the folks that are working in corrections also. So, again, we are hiring and we are giving bonuses. So, thank you, and thanks for being here. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item C, proclamation declaring Police Week.
Thank you. I chose to read this one myself because when I was born a long time ago, my father was a police officer, so I'd like to read the following proclamation. Whereas in 1962, the United States Congress first passed Public Law 87-726, designating May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day, honoring federal, state, and local officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty, and the corresponding week as Police Week. And whereas over the years, devoted law enforcement officers of America have courageously sacrificed their personal safety while working on behalf of the people. And whereas, because of their steadfast efforts to enforce our laws, we as citizens can enjoy a system of peace and order. And whereas Sedgwick County desires to honor the valor, service, and dedication of not only its own sheriff's deputies, but peace officers everywhere. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Chairman David T. Dennis, and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 15th to the 21st, 2022 as Police Week in Sedgwick County, and call upon our citizens to show their sincere appreciation for the many law enforcement officers of Sedgwick County, past and present, and their legacy of humble, dedicated service to our community. I make a motion we pass the resolution.
Second.
The proclamation. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call a roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And welcome. Thank you very much for accepting the proclamation.
Thank you. I'm Captain Tracy Spreyer. I'm over the investigation section with the Sheriff's Office, and on behalf of Sheriff Easter, thank you for this. We do have a tremendous amount of dedicated folks for the Sheriff's Office, and that work very hard in this community. It's been tough the last few years, and with employment shortages and so forth, our staff has stuck through it, and I am thankful for that as well as the sheriff. So we have a tremendous staff. I can't thank you enough, and on behalf of them, I thank you for this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing us to provide this proclamation. We appreciate what you do each and every day to serve and protect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item D, proclamation declaring National Bike Month.
Thank you. I've asked Commissioner Howell to read this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proclamation states, whereas the Health and Wellness Coalition of Wichita, Bike Walk Wichita, and other community partners have collaborated to recognize National Bike Month in our community every May since 2010. And whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of our lives, of most Americans, and is a viable and environmentally sound form of transportation and an excellent form of recreation and exercise. And whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities has been shown to improve residents' health and well-being, quality of life, community spirit, and a reduction of pollution and congestion. Now, therefore, be resolved that Chairman David Dennis and the Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim May of 2022 as National Bike Month and encourage Sedgwick County citizens to engage in Bike Month activities, which can be found at bikemonthict.org or Facebook at Bike Month ICT. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt the proclamation.
Thank you. I'll second that. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, the proclamation is going to be received by Shelley Rich, and I do have some comments after you want to speak.
Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm honored to receive this proclamation on behalf of the Health and Wellness Coalition, Bike Walk Wichita, and all of our other partner organizations who are unable to be here this morning. This truly is a community-planned celebration to promote biking as a safe and viable form of transportation and recreation. I'd like to highlight a few events, but I'd encourage you to visit our website and Facebook page. We have 2 month-long activities. Find the Bike, Ride, and Seek that's posted on the Facebook page, and download the Bike Basket List from the Health and Wellness Coalition's website for fun activities and a chance to win a gift card to a local bike shop. Did you know that May 20th is Bike to Work Day? Join us from 11 to 1 for lunch at Old Town Farmers Market Square and celebrate Bike Share ICT's 5th birthday. Finally, we are partnering with the Riverfront Stadium for a Bike to the Ball Game event on May 31st. Details will be posted online. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you out and about on your bicycle.
Thanks, Shelley. Commissioner Howell.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to share. I don't actually do much biking these days, but I did when I was younger, and I loved it. It was so much fun. It was a good quality of life activity, and I know it's great exercise, but I would just want to share. I have some great friends I fellowship with every single week, and that's all they talk about. I don't know if you know who Bruce Swenson is. He's a great man in this community. He's an attorney. He's one of my friends, as well as Tim Jansen, Brian Pate, Alan Brumbaugh, and others. And so they get together all the time, and they do mountain biking, trail biking. They do cross country. In fact, I'm sure that you know about the Bike Across Kansas, which is coming up, I think, June 10th. Yes. And that means that in 8 days or less, they're going to travel, I think, 512 miles across the state of Kansas. They do this every year. And it's a great event. Hundreds of people, I guess, get together for that event, and it's quite a moment of pride to complete biking across Kansas. Some of these bikers will go just for fun, 50 miles to 100 miles a day. And so it truly is a form of transportation when you think of it that way. Because I couldn't. For me to walk 20 miles would just about kill me. But biking, obviously, you can get across 100 miles in a day if you really wanted to do that. So it is something we should recognize. It's a great quality of life. And I know that Sedgwick County and Wichita, we are invested in creating opportunities for people to enjoy biking. So I'm glad to see the proclamation today, and thank you for being a leader of this great topic.
They sound like true champions for Bike Month.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shelley, thanks for being here. And it's a great award. It seems like in recent years we've done a nice job in this whole community in improving bike paths and off-road paths and everything else. So it's been a joy to watch. And so since this is Bike Month, I'm reminded I've got a Surrey bicycle that I've got to get oiled and a couple of tires changed and get ready for the biking season. So, and what day is Bike to Work Month?
It's Friday, May 20th. It's actually
Chairman, you're going to be biking to work that day?
That's a long way from me.
I just wanted to be on record if he's going to be able to do that. Okay. Thank you,
just
Shelley.
trailer your bike here and then bike to Old Town Farmers Market Square and join us.
Good. Thank you. Shelley, thank you very much. I know Commissioner Lopez and I are both on the Health and Wellness Committee, so we appreciate what you do there, and with bike walk and so forth. So thank you, and it's an honor to give you a proclamation today.
Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, next item, please. Let's wait up a minute. We're going into new business at this point. And so as new business, we're going to have an off-agenda item to talk about the tornado that happened last week in Sedgwick County and over in Butler County. So I make a motion that we open up an off-agenda item.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple seconds. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call a roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz. Aye. Commissioner Howell. Aye. Commissioner Lopez. Aye. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Okay, I move that we establish an off-agenda item to discuss the tornado and the response from Julie Simpson, response from MABCD, the response from Public Works, and the declaration, the emergency declaration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz. Aye. Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And we'll start off with Julie Simpson. As I said, we've got 4 people that are going to be talking today, and we'll begin with Julie. And we have Jonathan in the room. A lot of us rode with Jonathan on Saturday. We appreciate the time that he spent. We didn't know Jonathan too well up to a week ago, and now we've been with Jonathan 5 or 6 times. So.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Julie Stimson, Director of Sedgwick County Emergency Management. I'm going to just give a quick background of the situation, briefly talk about our multi-agency resource center, a little bit about federal assistance programs, volunteers, safety, and then, as he mentioned, we'll have some more details about damage assessments and our debris cleanup. So as a background, as you know, tornado touched down in Sedgwick County at 8:10 p.m. Friday, April 29th, southeast of Wichita, and moved into Butler County. The tornado was rated an EF3 with estimated wind speeds up to 165 miles an hour. The tornado touched down near 39th Street, or as several folks may call it, MacArthur, and East 127th Street South, and then exited Sedgwick County near Pawnee and East 159th Street. As of this morning, the number says 32, but as of this morning, we're up to 35 structures that were impacted in Sedgwick County and 180 structures so far in Butler County. And the numbers continue, there's still people out there tallying. So this is a very fluid number. A lot of work still being done out there today. The path of the tornado was 12.75 miles long. At the max width was 440 yards. There were 3 injuries directly related to the tornado, 2 of those in Sedgwick County. 1 was serious, the other 2 were minor. From what I understand, as of last night, the injury for the serious, she's still hospitalized, pending some medical procedures, but it does not look to be life-threatening. And 0 deaths. That is the biggest success of this entire situation. I have an EF3 tornado, and as you saw the debris out there, it's a miracle that we did not have anyone seriously hurt beyond that 1 injury and any deaths. So the fact that there were no deaths and only a few injuries shows that people took the warning seriously. This tornado generated very quickly. There was a thunderstorm. It had just been warned for some hail and winds. By the time the funnels were getting reported, the tornado had touched down within a few minutes of even getting the message out. So folks that did get the warning, most said their cell phones were the first notification, and they sought shelter either in their basements or in the most interior rooms of their homes. And as you see, as driving through the debris field, you can see that was the safest spot in a lot of these homes were those most interior rooms. So again, re-emphasizing it's exactly what we should have done, and people did the right thing, and literally lives were saved because of that. Sedgwick County and Butler County, we work together day to day on our normal basis through mutual aid, and this tornado response and recovery is no different. To consolidate resources and collaborate effectively, both Sedgwick County and Butler County Emergency Management are operating together through the City of Andover Command Post. The recovery efforts are consolidated into one disaster recovery, treating the county line as an invisible line. Although this tornado is referred to as the Andover tornado of 2022, it does include the portion of Sedgwick County that was impacted. A little bit about the Multi-Agency Resource Center. So both short and long-term recovery efforts are ongoing, and it is important to note this will be a long-term recovery. There is a Multi-Agency Resource Center, which is referred to as a MARC, located at the Andover Community Center, 1008 East 13th Street, Andover. The hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and they will be stood up at least through Sunday, if not longer. As of yesterday, there are several organizations within this Multi-Agency Resource Center, a lot of nonprofit organizations, the United Way of the Plains, American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Lions Club, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas, the Lutheran Church Charities Canine Ministries, Lutheran Church Missouri Synagogue, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Butler County Health Department, and as I am speaking, we are coordinating with the insurance commissioner to get them a location as well, so that way they can work with some insurance concerns that are going on. So that's being done right now as I'm standing at the podium. The center also provides on-site access to snacks, water, hygiene items, cleanup kits, bug spray, sunscreen, and other essential items. Those needing assistance with shelter, basic needs, or cleanup, or if they cannot get to the resource center, they can call 211 for arrangements for transportation and to get into the case management system. Like I mentioned, this will be a long-term recovery, so even after this multi-agency resource center stands down, these organizations will be maintaining contact with our survivors for the long haul until recovery efforts are complete. What is critical now is that folks get entered into the system, and that is what we are working very hard on right now, making sure every resident has had an opportunity to get their information loaded into case management so that way they can have access to all the resources. Federal assistance. Data, like I mentioned, is still being gathered as I speak to see if our counties will reach the monetary thresholds to receive federal financial aid. Both counties are pretty certain that neither will qualify for public assistance or individual assistance at this time. The threshold for Sedgwick County is $2,147,678, and Butler County is $276,258 of uninsured losses. We've got most of the properties, and I say most, there are some that are not, are covered with insurance, which is why we most likely will not meet that threshold. The state threshold to qualify for federal aid is $4,788,744. The state does have a disaster declaration, not only were Butler and Sedgwick County impacted by severe weather, there were several other counties as well. So together, we are all still compiling data and submitting that to the state to see if we meet those thresholds. I just want to clarify, public assistance is for the restoration of public infrastructure, such as highways, public facilities, schools. It is not for public, it's for public infrastructure. Individual assistance is the program for individuals, and again, that is based on the amount of uninsured. There is a chance for the Small Business Administration qualification, and that is based on uninsured and underinsured, so there is a chance, a likelihood that we will qualify some assistance through the Small Business Administration programs. Even if one county qualifies, the SBA program is a continuous program. The county next that have been impacted will automatically qualify as well. So both counties are working feverishly to collect all the necessary data to apply for these programs, and we will continue to work with the Kansas Division of Emergency Management and update the data as it's continuously coming in. Excuse me. Volunteering. A volunteer reception center has also opened at the United Methodist Church in Andover at 1429 North Andover Road. Those interested in volunteering are asked to sign up at the United Methodist Church. Many are still sifting through belongings and may not know everything they need, so this is why we're also continuously going out to help these folks. Safety is important. I will tell you right now, we have not dispatched volunteers because there is thunderstorms going on as I'm standing here. So if it's not safe, we have been keeping our volunteers in on their free will if they want to assist folks. But we're just not dispatching volunteers out into danger. If for donations, it is still recommended to donate funds in lieu of physical objects because a lot of folks are still trying to figure out what they need. So monetary donations. We brought up the United Way webpage, United Way of the Plains. It's very easy to navigate. This is their homepage. You can click a button to find help. You can click a button if you want to give help. And then there is also a button for the media inquiries. So it's a very easy webpage. Now we understand our residents that have been impacted don't probably have access to computers and TVs and this information. So we're working on getting them physically to the location so they can get access to these resources. Butler County and Sedgwick County Health Departments are both working together as well to offer free tetanus shots for those who are working in the damage areas. It is recommended to get vaccinated against tetanus if it has been more than 5 years since the last dose or if unsure when the last immunization is given. Tetanus vaccinations are available at the Resource Center, Sedgwick County Health Department, mobile clinics throughout the damaged areas. Sedgwick County Health Department donated 2 portable coolers and 220 doses of tetanus to Butler County to assist with them going out into the damaged area to vaccinate those folks impacted. And again, this is another example of both counties working together in tandem to take care of this as one disaster recovery. Mentioned the weather. Volunteers, again, just a quick safety message. PPE is available with gloves, but it is always recommended if anyone is volunteering to wear sturdy closed-toed shoes and bring heavy leather work gloves. I will stand for any questions before we turn this over to our damage assessment team and also our public works for the debris management portion of this.
Well, I appreciate it, Julie, and I know that we stood up the EOC immediately during this disaster. We were able to get a disaster declaration out immediately so that we were prepared. I appreciate all the work. When we had Commissioner Meitzer and Commissioner Howell traveling together, and then Commissioner Lopez and I traveling together Saturday to look at the damage. We saw all the damage in Sedgwick County, and later in the afternoon we had an opportunity to meet with the governor, meet with all of the county commissioners in Butler County, to meet with the mayor of Andover. So we got our fire department was out there, MABCD was out there, animal control was out there. Every place we went, we saw Sedgwick County someplace taking care of our citizens exactly what we should be doing. So again, thank you very much for everyone that has been involved in this disaster, and we will actually discuss some more actions that we're going to take here in the future yet today during this agenda item. But Julie, thank you very much for coordinating all this, because I know this was a big job coordinating, getting all of the first responders. I should have mentioned EMS. There's just across the board, everyone was involved in this someplace as far as our first responders, and even a lot of people that aren't first responders but are directly impacted by taking care of our citizens. So again, thank you, Julie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, of course.
Commissioner Howell has a question.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to make sure that I guess I have comments and questions, but I would like to wait till after all the speakers come up and present all their information. But I just want to make sure the chairman understands. I do have comments and questions, probably relates to your presentation, but I want to just wait till everyone has a chance to speak first. Thank you.
Understood.
Okay, Julie, that's all the questions I have for you. I think we're going to bring MABCD up next. Courtney,
Correct.
welcome. Morning, Courtney.
Good morning, Commissioners. Courtney Capello, MABCD. It's nice to see you all this morning. So we sent you some, or we provided you some pictures of some of the damage that was taking place over the 35 structures that were assessed by our team on Saturday, April the 30th. 5 were assessed as being minor damage, 5 were assessed as being moderate, and then the rest were assessed as being severe to moderate damage and severe. So as we went through, you'll see in the pictures, we took photos of all the exterior of the structure. As we went through the information and we talked to the individuals, it was nice to note that on that second one that was mentioned on 127th Street, 3800 South, 127th Street East, that horse barn that was damaged, no horses were affected, so they were safe. So that was just a nice point, side point. We did a rapid evaluation safety assessment of all the structures. That will be provided to the appraisers as well as the Emergency Operations Center. And as we went through this information, we were able to assess that with these houses and these structures that were damaged, it's not just residential structures, but we also looked at the accessory structures as well. So you'll see those pictures. There's quite a lot of damage there. We had a nice group of our inspection staff out there on Saturday, and it was nice to note that some of our inspection staff even helped those in the Andover inspection staff as well to do assessments on Sunday as well. I will stand for questions.
Well, thank you. We saw the placards on the houses that were still standing. Some of them, I don't know where you could have put a placard because there wasn't enough left to put the placard on. But we know that you were out there, and we saw your vehicles driving around. So thank you very much. Commissioner Howell's next.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just wanted to break this down. So you say 35 structures. Does that include the outbuildings and that? So how many actual homes are uninhabitable that were impacted by this tornado? Do you know that?
I don't know the specific number, but the severe damage ones were mainly the homes. So we had over 25 severely damaged.
Okay. That's all I need for it now. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And your statistics, they don't grasp the human impact that we saw out there. As we were walking around, one home was picked up completely off of the foundation. It rolled 180 degrees, slammed back down, 3 people in that home, and they crawled out of it. So we got to talk to a lot of folks that day, and there is human impact all the way up and down that line. So I appreciate things like the pictures and the description and the amount of damage, but there is a human toll that was placed upon a lot of our citizens during this tornado. So just wanted to point that out.
Just to follow up to Commissioner Howell's question, that was a rapid assessment, Commissioner, so we're going to do a detailed assessment. There are some structures that are still standing that have twisted and racked, and so they may have to be removed as well.
Okay. And just to be clear, this package you handed us today, this is all Sedgwick County.
Correct.
And were there any homes inside the city limits of Wichita? Or are Sedgwick County homes that are damaged all in the unincorporated?
We went from 31st all the way to 159th Street.
And from my knowledge, that's all unincorporated area.
Some of it is, yes. 143rd Street is in the city of Wichita limits, and 159th Street, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I can clarify. I can clarify. They are all unincorporated properties located within Gypsum and the Minnehaha townships.
And I probably should have mentioned City of Wichita Fire was out there. Their command post was over in the parking lot at Dillon's. We had fire in from Great Bend, from McPherson. It was an amazing community effort that we saw out there.
Those are the positive things that come out of a tragic event. The teamwork out there and the leadership and the collaboration is astounding out there, and it's going to be like this for the long haul.
Commissioner Howell, do you have something else, or? Okay.
Just, no, I think when I hear from all four speakers, I'd like to maybe make some comments and have some questions at that time. Thank you.
Very good. Well, we're going to bring Jim Weber up to see what Public Works can do for us.
Again, Jim Weber, Director of Public Works, and so these things work in phases, and so we're in the process of moving from this really emergency phase to the cleanup phase, and we're dealing with a number of different types of materials. So just briefly, we are in the process of arranging for the delivery of dumpsters out on 137th and 145th. Both of those are Jefferson Township roads, but this is where, if you look at that damage map, that's where the bulk of this stuff is. Those dumpsters are intended to be used for the C&D type debris. The homes that fly apart, we use dumpsters because some people just need to pick it up. They can pick it up when they want to put it in the dumpster. If it arrives at the edge of the right-of-way, we'll be working out there. We'll put that stuff in a dumpster, and it works better for us to then have that hauled off to C&D in that way, and we'll just keep rotating them out. This will look a lot like the experience we would have seen in Oaklawn in 2012. Next week, we plan to start hauling tree waste. We'll do that with our own equipment and people. It's important, as people are working out there, to try to keep these things separate. If we get a lot of C&D type waste mixed in with the tree waste becomes C&D waste because we just can't really separate it out. We have been asked by the city of Andover to provide some trucks next week. So we'll planning to send 3 trucks and a skid steer loader over there to help them. They have agreed to allow us to use their burn site, which is just 2 miles east of the county line. It cuts our trip time from about a 20-mile trip to a 4-mile trip, one-way trip. So I think we'll actually gain enough efficiency with that location that the loss of the trucks to the Andover effort is, we're actually probably still ahead, but don't tell them that. So we are coordinating with Gypsum Township. Again, most of these homes are actually front onto Gypsum Township roads. And I think they have some equipment. They'll help us. We'll help them. We'll help each other. We'll get it done. We'll work with the property owners. We always have an issue with household hazardous waste items that end up out there, and so as in Oaklawn, we'll set up something where we'll combine, collect that from the site if they can get that separated out and together. And tires is another thing. Those kinds of things that don't belong in a C&D landfill or a burn pile. We can't put anything in the burn except for the tree waste. Keep that separated out. We'll get it figured out. Just a reminder that this kind of operation is fluid, and we'll make adjustments as we go. I can tell you that we have probably got an access issue coming up on 137th. It's a one way in, one way out, and it doesn't have a cul-de-sac at the end. So just moving trucks and dumpsters and our equipment around is going to be tricky. I'll emphasize the safety thing. We prefer not to have a lot of people standing around while we're doing this, but clearly it's going to be an ongoing thing. And I think that's kind of it right now. We're trying to get contact information gathered up for, I guess we're up to 36 places now, so we can set up something to work with them directly, maybe let them know when we're going to be there, when we're not going to be there, and so that there's no surprises, or be able to, talk to people what we're doing. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. So on this part of our assistance to the folks out there, I think I heard yesterday that we really can't go on to private property, and there's concerns about like buried sewer lines and things like that might sustain damage from our heavy equipment that would go on there. So I think there's an intent not to go on private property. I guess I would like to know that if they were to sign a liability waiver, there's many things on these properties are too heavy for the people to pick up. They can't physically move them to an area where it transitions from private to public property. So I don't know how they're going to get those items moved over to where they can be picked up by our equipment. So I'm just concerned about that. I guess I asked Manager Stoltz and one of our counselors yesterday to anticipate an idea that would be a liability waiver both for everybody involved, so that again, as long as we all agree and we sign off on those waivers, we have a copy of that we would be allowed then to maybe access these properties a little bit further in to get those items that they really can't pick up. So any thoughts on that?
I just recommend we don't do it. It sounds fine, but you are the people with the money, and we can get a waiver, and maybe that's legal, but if we break something, they're going to be up here, saying they need help. And then our risk people are not going to like paying bills for stuff we break. There's a line, and there's a reason there's a line, and it's private property, and some of these people have insurance, they have maybe some other resources. We'll do what we can. And I'm not saying every piece of it's got to be on the right-of-way, because we don't actually want to fill up the ditch, but we're saying it needs to be right next to the right-of-way where we can reach it. And so, for example, at Oaklawn, they had an issue. It went through a trailer park. They took care of, there were trailer frames or things we really can't deal with, mobile home frames. You can imagine what chunk of steel that is. You know, they may have to, it's going to be a slow process while everybody works it out. But I'm not inclined to run out there and start working on private property.
Well, with that in mind, if we do have a need to even inch onto their property, I think some type of legal release of liability would be important, that we would have that available to us if we need to go on that property. We'd want to make sure we have that discussion before we just do without that piece of paper. So I guess my thought would be, there's going to be times where this is going to come up, and I think Julie wants to talk, so.
Yeah, bail me out.
So Commissioner Howell, what Jim is alluding to is kind of, there is still, through the Multi-Agency Resource Center, there are organizations that have heavy equipment that isn't so heavy as our county equipment is, that they can help move some of that debris to the public land. It's just, again, coordinating, moving that debris into where these big trucks can come through and pick them up without having to go onto the property. So there's a lot of equipment out there that may not be county-owned equipment, but it's through other charities, other organizations who have that equipment, helping them move that debris to the end of the road.
On that note, I understand that, you know, the folks that are doing that type of assistance, there are liability waiver forms over at the United Methodist Church that are provided by the United Way, that releases both the property owners, the renters, the assistant, the volunteers, everyone from death, injury, accidental damage, taking something off the property that maybe was valuable to someone. So it kind of covers all those issues.
Correct.
And everybody involved in volunteering, or if you have property that you want to have someone help with, everybody needs to sign one of those waivers, and I assume that these are being provided for.
Correct. Yes, they are, and we are not doing any. I say we. The recovery efforts are not going on property without that waiver being signed. We still have folks going through valuable property, looking for valuables, and still working with their insurance companies. So there's a very careful approach to this debris removal, but there is assistance to help get that debris to the public where our folks can come through and pick up that debris.
Okay. Well, I will suspend my concern there, but we'll watch this, and if it ends up becoming an issue between the county and private property, I'll probably raise this issue again. But
sure, no, absolutely, and we'll be out there monitoring. Like I said, this is the long-term recovery. We're going to be out there through the long haul for this and monitoring exactly these type of activities to make sure our citizens are being taken care of.
And I have a few other questions on that. We'll get back to that in a few minutes, but thank you, Chairman, for the chance to speak.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And we need to bring up Justin Wagner to talk about the declaration that we need to extend.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Justin Wagner, Assistant County Counselor. As the Chairman mentioned, on Friday, April 29th, he declared a local disaster emergency after the tornado and high winds hit in Sedgwick County. By state law, the Chairman's declaration can only be in place for a maximum of 7 days without approval of the Board of County Commissioners. And so what I think each of you have received a copy of a draft resolution. What it would propose to do would be to extend the declaration of disaster that's in place through May 18th, which is when your next scheduled meeting is. I've spoken with Julie in Emergency Management. It's her belief that that's sufficient time for the declaration. However, if there's a need to extend it beyond, then you could certainly pass another resolution at that time. It takes a simple majority vote, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone that worked Friday night to get that disaster declaration out immediately. And I know that Justin has provided a draft of the declaration to everyone. Everyone's had an opportunity to review the disaster declaration that's going to extend it until May 18th. I move that we approve the extended disaster declaration until May 18th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz. Aye. Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you, Justin. And Commissioner Howell?
Well, thank you, Chairman. I think I was the fourth speaker, so I do have a couple of questions. I don't know who can answer, but I just want to talk about a few other things. I sent out a message this morning on porta potties. We have over 100 volunteers at the 135th Street East and 137th Street East and 145th Street East at 31st Street, and there's at least 100 people that are volunteering, and plus homeowners and family there. So I think on the Butler County side, I think they have placed some porta potties on their side. I think we need to get some of those on the Sedgwick County side. I know we talked about the dumpsters. I think this is very similar to that in terms of it's just a human need. We need to get those placed, and so I'm requesting that officially, if that's acceptable.
Yep. And we have placed some porta potties on our property as of yesterday. There are several throughout the property. A couple individuals have requested on-site, and then we have some that are in public-type properties, so anybody can use them. But that was going on yesterday.
Thank you for that. As we were doing our damage assessment tour, we even noticed I would classify them as looters. People jumping out of their vehicles, grabbing stuff out of someone's property, and taking off quickly. We saw that, and so security is a pretty big problem right now. And we've had some rotten weather even since the tornadoes, and I know there's rain in the schedule for this afternoon. But there's people actually that are unwilling to leave their homes, even though they're destroyed. There's still property out there that they value, and they've not had a chance to even finish going through their property for the first time. And the ground is very squishy. They can't get out there. They're having a hard time, and they're unwilling to leave their property right now because of security concerns. And so I know WPD did a really good job of managing some of our road closures when this whole event kind of unfolded. What is the situation with security at this point? Do we have some folks that are monitoring who's out there? Are there people being questioned? I guess I'm just concerned about the security aspect of what's happening right now.
Absolutely. It's been a concern since day one. We've worked with the sheriff's office to increase our patrols out there. I do have a story yesterday how we're working together. 2 property owners, exactly what you were saying, refused to leave their homes due to security concerns, and we were able to coordinate security to be on their properties while they went and got resources. So we are working together with the sheriff's office for that extra security. I am happy to report we have not had any reports in Sedgwick County of looters. We want to stay ahead of that. Most of the looting activity has been in Butler County. But yes, we are definitely taking a look at that, working with homeowners on their security concerns, and the sheriff's office has been very generous in sending some extra patrols and deputies to that area.
Thank you for that. I wanted just to make a couple of comments. One of the early needs we had was people asked for boxes. I want to just commend Lowe's for bringing out pallets of boxes, dropping them off different places. I don't know where all they got dropped off, but I do know they donated quite a bit of that material. I want to say thank you to them. I wanted to say I've been reached. Insurance Commissioner Vicki Schmidt, State Insurance Commissioner, has contacted me numerous times. I know she's planning to be doing a tour tomorrow, and they're going to set up, I think, a mobile office or something somewhere to talk to both insurance companies and anybody impacted by damage. So if people can get that word out, that there will be an opportunity to actually talk to the insurance commissioner. She's very, very good at this, and she has very high standards for this to be handled very, very well. So I appreciate her personal attention to this is really fantastic. That's Insurance Commissioner Vicki Schmidt. And so I want to say thank you to her, and I'm looking forward to seeing her tomorrow. I'm sure I'll visit her when she sets that up tomorrow. I do want to just talk about a little bit. I know we are aware. I've had some concerns about both our educational information as well as our warnings going out in English only. I don't know if you want to talk about that. I know I've talked about this. Our website, I think we have a need to do some things other than English on our website, but I'd like to just talk about both the educational side of what we just went through as well as the warnings. How do people know about the tornadoes when they're coming? Because when this touched down, the 137th Street East, that was the very first home that Commissioner Dennis just talked about that got flipped upside down, was one of the most, the debris from that particular home was incredible. And it seems to me that was the very first home that the tornado actually touched. There was some minor damage on 127th Street East, but that wasn't a home. And went across those agricultural fields and hit that particular home, and then other homes around that going as it went northeast. But they virtually had no warning, and I don't know if anything we can do about talking about how people know about the warnings. And of course, one of those homes right there was also a Spanish-speaking only home. So I just have some concerns about that.
Sure. So we did identify areas of improvement with that. The warning was very, very quick. This storm produced a tornado, and it was almost one of those things you didn't see it coming until it happened. So the warning system for those initial early homes, yes, they had very little warning, but the warnings did go out. We do have the capability to send it out in multiple languages through our integrated public alert warning system, our IPAWS system. And we're working with the National Weather Service on that to see how that happens. The capability is there. We just need to make sure that we all understand how we're using it. With our webpage, and I know we've been sending a lot of information out in multiple languages through social media, but again, understanding these folks don't have electricity, they don't have TVs, they don't have, they're not on their phones on social media, so we have a lot of printed material in multiple languages that we're also providing to our folks out there. The family that you are speaking of, we did get them to the Multi-Agency Resource Center yesterday. They've got a ton of resources now, so they have been taken care of. But we certainly have ways to improve the early outreach to make sure that we're reaching everybody in their native languages. So that is something that we're taking off of this.
That's good to hear that. Thank you for for those answers. And then I guess one of the other questions I received yesterday was, in this particular area, it seems to be a bit of a, we have on our GIS, we have a way to bring up our tornado siren range. There's a map, you can see the range, and there's a dead area in this spot, and it is fairly populated. So I'm just curious about how do we determine where to place these sirens, and do we have any way that we can advocate for adding sirens in certain places where there is a certain level of population? We are actually, where we have a plan in place right now to improve and expand our outdoor warning system to cover some of these gapped areas. It takes a lot of funds, and we're going to be presenting a capital improvement project to address exactly that issue. There's no magic number. It is really a cultural-based decision based on our populated areas and managing expectations that, again, these outdoor warning sirens are meant for those who are outdoors. So if we have folks in homes, we need to make sure we communicate the message. They still need to have alternate ways to receive that information. Even during this tornado warning, all the cell phone systems, it was not perfect. When you have inclement weather, not everyone got the cell phone alerts in a timely manner. So again, reiterating that multi-layered approach is really critical. Sirens is a piece of that, and that is something that we're looking at. And on that note, it seems like some of the folks I talked with, they had their GPS on their phone turned off. And yes. So I guess I'm going to assume that they will not receive those warnings if that system is not turned or not active on their phone. Potentially,
the GPS, and there's alert settings that if some cell phones, depending on the older models, you have to go in and select to receive those. Now the newer models, it's automatic. You'd have to go in to opt out. But that's an educational piece. We'll work with the National Weather Service too as we identify those type of things and how to educate folks on how to make sure their phones are set up to receive those alerts.
And I'm glad you made the point that this is an outdoor warning system, because a lot of the folks we talked to, when I talked to many of the families out there, most of them were indoors. They knew the weather was kind of strange, and I think we had some early reports that the weather could be a little strange this afternoon or this evening. As you mentioned earlier, it went from strange-looking weather to a very serious situation in a matter of minutes. But these folks were vigilant to kind of watch what's going on outdoors. They probably were listening to TV and radio to get those updates, and I think those warnings did come out very, very quickly, which is why I believe. I mean, we talked to one gentleman, Commissioner Meister, and I talked to one family where the gentleman, I think, dove down the stairs and the house basically left him. Right. Yep. As he went down the stairs, the house disappeared. So it just a matter of seconds that God was merciful. These people did not get killed in the process, but that early warning and knowing this is happening is such a critical part of this story. And everything went, for the most part, went really, really well. But there's a few just opportunities because on the Sedgwick County side, these are the folks that didn't hear the sirens. They had very little warning and they had significant damage. And so we have a lot of I think we have some work to do on our side. So, but thank you for all you do. That's all my questions for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the chance to speak again.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Julie, for all you've done and for the report today. As a Kansan all my life, April is a special month for me. It's the start of spring and also my birthday month. I was born April 28th, 1982. So this year I was out of town. I was out of the state for some much needed rest and to celebrate the 40th year of my life. And just a day after, as we've all heard and been aware, April 29th, Mother Nature decided to devastate parts of Sedgwick and Butler counties. When I heard the news, my heart sank because I was 550 miles away. I have seen firsthand the devastation going through a tornado myself as a senior in high school on April 19th, 2000, when an F3 tornado ripped through the small southeast Kansas town where I was at in Parsons. After checking with my family and others, I took solace in knowing that we have some of the best first responders and emergency management professionals in control who were more than capable and equipped to handle this situation. I followed the recovery efforts carefully, and it has been an incredible show of resilience by this entire community, and I just cannot express my gratitude and appreciation for those members of the YMCA who took action very quickly, all of the first responders, MABCD staff, our Public Works, United Way, the Salvation Army, Evergy, and those linemen who worked around the clock to get electric safe and back working again. All the churches, neighbors, and community members who have worked to get things cleaned up and back to normal. You know, as a commissioner, I am honored to be a part of those who have consistently supported emergency management and first responders so that when something like this happens, they have the equipment and items needed to take care of our community. One question I have is kind of along the same lines of Commissioner Howell. I received a question from a community member about pinpointing the sirens and how those, can you just explain, there was a question around, a siren close to their house they heard, but it was kind of after the fact. So are those pinpointed in a way? Do they all go off? How does that system work really quickly?
So there's multiple, it's a kind of a complex system, so I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. So the National Weather Service issues a polygon, and that initiates the siren activation in that polygon. So far, we have, with our current system, and we know our system has a lot of room for improvement, which is why we're revisiting another plan to help our system. If there's any kind of a delay, we're going to push what we kind of call a panic button that sounds all the sirens, because we want to warn, we don't want to wait for technical issues. So that is what happened in this case, is we saw the polygon, we activated it, and we didn't see the pulse on the computer that shows the sirens were going off. So instead of we just hit the button and sounded the sirens. We're going to work to improve that. We have an improvement plan, but again, it's going to take funds to fix this. So the sirens have about a mile radius for coverage in ideal weather conditions. So another point with these outdoor warning systems, if you have storms and rain and wind, that's going to affect how far out these sirens can actually be heard. So it fluctuates based on location, based on traffic noise, based on weather conditions. All of that weighs into it. So it's a careful assessment looking at the populated areas and what coverage we already have from other sirens. We do know we have some gaps, and again, that's part of the reason we have this capital improvement plan in process, is to help fix that. But we do have, sirens aren't perfect. They're equipment, and sometimes they fail, and sometimes they just have quirky personalities, kind of, and that's why we hit that panic button when we have to, and again, reiterating, having multiple ways to receive that information.
Sure. Well, thank you, Julie, again, to your team, to yourself for working around the clock. I'm sure that you're working a lot of extra hours. I appreciate all you do. Please relay that to your staff and others. And again, just to the community for stepping up and really helping and being resilient in the fact that we have to rebuild.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I don't even know how to adequately thank everybody who's been a part of this. It has been an incredible experience to watch what you guys are capable of doing and just how well you're able to work with our partners across county lines so seamlessly. I mean, it is a miracle that nobody lost their life, but I think a huge part of that is just the preparedness that has gone into this system, into everything that you guys do, and it really is tribute to you guys that nobody did lose their life in this, although there was a lot of very scary incidences on Saturday morning when we were able to go out and tour, talking to the residents who lost everything in just an instant was an experience I will never forget, just because of how devastating that is, not only to them, but to their families, to our community. And I went back on Sunday to see how I could help in the cleanup efforts, and seeing so many people out there who didn't know any of the people, right? Like, so when we were touring on Saturday, there was a family from Rose Hill who just showed up at someone's house and was helping them clean up. And on Sunday afternoon, it was a completely different scene than what it was Saturday morning. So just the amount of volunteer time that really went into that and how much work was done was just outstanding. But thank you so much for everything that your team, and everybody who's been a part of this was able to accomplish, because I don't know if I was one of those families how just how thankful and grateful they have to be for all of the support. So I don't know how to really say thank you enough, but just please know how appreciated you guys all are.
Absolutely appreciate the support.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Julie, thanks for the report and the other 3 reports as well. So don't want to be repetitive, but I also want to recognize my thanks to comms team and Tanya Cole for communicating with the comms group and the city managers in Andover in Butler County. The communication was mutual, and I think it was important that it was always accurate, so we weren't giving out various opinions that were in conflict with each other. So I think the communication and anything that before I spoke publicly on news media or radio, it was helpful to make sure I had accurate information and just whatever support we could lend to help with your all's mission. So my sincere thanks, and Jonathan, thanks again for babysitting us all day Saturday. And it was very humbling, obviously. The pictures do one thing, but when you're out of the car and walking next to all that debris, and seeing the faces up close of those victims, it's a little more than just the pictures that were already bad enough and the videos that were already bad enough. But being there and touching and walking in that was quite an impact. And so thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank some vendors that helped us immediately on Friday and Saturday after we reached out to them with a need to assist after the tornado struck in the county. Lowe's, Steve Klein and Danny Parker provided boxes, tapes, and markers for residents so they had something to place their belongings in during the initial cleanup. No charge to Sedgwick County. Foley Equipment, Eric Richardson and Wes, delivered 6 4-by 1,000-watt light towers to Kellogg and Andover Road. 3 drivers making 2 trips from the southwest street. Both vendors were taking our calls after hours, so that's how the community came together. I just, and those are 2 that I know of for a fact, but I'm certain that there were others that were involved in this disaster. Again, I appreciate everything that Sedgwick County employees did to help out. Across the board, everyone was out there serving their community. I want to thank the community members that were out there, that were taking care of their neighbors. So it is the exact right response, and I appreciate everything that everyone did. Thanks, Julie. Thank you for everything that you've done with emergency management, MABCD, Public Works, our legal department, our leadership staff under Tom Stoltz. I was in communications with all of those folks all evening, and actually over the weekend on top of that. So thank you very much for everything.
And just to summarize, we do ask folks to stay out of those areas unless you are affiliated with some sort of volunteer effort. This is still not the time for sightseers and photos and things. There's a lot of activity still going on in these areas. Like Jim mentioned, once these debris management folks start coming out, there's going to be heavy equipment in these roads, and we need folks to be out of the area and stay safe. I know it is storming out right now, so even with volunteer work, keep an eye to the sky. We are still in severe weather season. We had a really big scare a couple days ago that we thought we may have more tornadoes, and we were blessed we did not have more tornadoes, but that risk and threat is still out there, so we still need to stay very attuned to what's going on in our community and be ready to go. So, again, thank you for your support with everything.
Very good. Thank you. Well, we've been going for 2 hours now. Thank you. We've been going for 2 hours. Why don't we take a break until 5 minutes after 11 and come back at that point in time, give everybody a chance for a break. Thank you. We're on recess. Okay, and welcome back to the board meeting. I'd like to call the board meeting back to order. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item E, CON 2022-00004, county conditional use to permit outdoor shooting and RV campground on property zoned RR Rural Residential, generally located on the west side of North 295th Street West and on the south side of K96 Highway.
Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to report that I have had ex parte contact on this matter, telephone calls, emails, documents provided to me. So I have received a lot of information outside of this hearing today that I think that I need to disclose, and that I have maintained an open mind on this matter and will base my decisions on the information and statements presented during this meeting today. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to declare I also have received ex parte communication on this matter, which has included 2 emails from one from Mr. Heffling a couple of times. I did not actually respond other than simply say I received your email, and one from Alan and Sylvia Schmidt, which I did not respond to yet. And I do maintain an open mind on this matter and will base my decision upon the information and statements presented during this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman. I have received ex parte communications on this matter, which have included one email, and I maintain an open mind on this matter. I will base my decision based upon information and statements presented during this meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
I too have received one email and have an open mind. Thank you.
Commissioner Meitzner.
And I also received a couple of emails, and it was just responded back that I'd received them and just taken all the information for consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And as I explained to each individual that called or emailed me, that this is a quasi-judicial matter, so we have to keep an open mind during the entire discussion, and no decisions have been made at this time. So at this point, I will turn it over to Scott, our Director of Planning.
Good morning, sir. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. This case is it's a case actually for 2 conditional uses. One is for recreational vehicle campground. The other one is for outdoor recreation and entertainment, which includes the firing ranges. This item is being presented today for a couple of reasons. One, because there have been protests received on this case, and the second, because the Citizen Advisory Board and Planning Commission recommendations are different. They're slightly different, but they are different. In terms of the property, subject site is located approximately a half mile west of the city of Mount Hope, generally southwest of K96 and north 295th Street. Subject site is approximately 39 acres in size. It is zoned rural residential and is undeveloped, as you can see from this aerial here. A major feature of the property are multiple pits that are on the site. It is my understanding that those are borrow pits where soil was taken out during the construction of K96. The subject site is divided into 2 parcels by the Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad tracks. You can see those cutting diagonally through the site. In terms of the application, again, the applicants are applying for 2 conditional uses, one for an RV campground, the second one for outdoor recreation and entertainment. The RV campground is proposed to be on the northern portion of the property. The applicants anticipate about 6 RV sites on that portion. The applicants are proposing to use the south and western portions of the property for a firearm shooting range, which is classified as outdoor recreation and entertainment in the Unified Zoning Code. The applicants propose to develop 3 firing ranges on the site, a shotgun area with clay pigeons, pistol training area, and rifle range. And I'll show some illustrations to illustrate where those are in just a moment. In terms of context, all of the surrounding properties are zoned rural residential, which you can see on this slide. North of the subject site is K96 Highway and rights-of-way. South are agricultural lands and a cell tower with residences beyond them. West are agricultural lands, and east are agricultural fields and an abandoned structure that appears to be from earlier railroad uses. In terms of the review of this application, on March 7th, the Citizens Advisory Board for District 3 considered the application. The CAB recommended approval of the conditional uses by a 6-2 vote, subject to staff recommendations, which included additional conditions, which are detailed in your staff report. No members of the public spoke in opposition at this public hearing. On March 17th, the public hearing for this case was held at the Planning Commission meeting. Planning Commission recommended approval of the conditional use by an 8-2 vote. The MAPC's recommendation differed from the CAB's recommendation in that the MAPC added a condition requiring that the shooting range adhere to hours of operation. The MAPC recommended conditions, again, are listed in the staff report for this item. Several members of the public spoke in opposition at the Planning Commission meeting. The concerns generally regarded noise, safety of nearby residents, proximity of the proposed shooting range to the highway, and also proximity to the city of Mount Hope, and the possible effects on groundwater. Please note that at the Planning Commission meeting, one of the planning commissioners brought up a question about the potential for groundwater contamination. During the meeting, planning staff contacted County Environmental Resources and learned that there may be a concern and that additional research would be needed in order to have a better understanding. Planning staff shared that information with the Planning Commission while they were discussing this item. The Planning Commission decided not to defer the item and voted to recommend approval. Planning staff indicated that we would continue to work with environmental staff to learn more about the situation, and the results of that research are included in your agenda packet for this item. Protest petitions representing more than 90% of the protest area were received. This exceeds the state threshold of 20%, and therefore any vote to approve the application will require a supermajority vote or 4 of 5 voting for it. In terms of actions, the recommended action is to adopt the findings of the MAPC, approve the conditional uses with the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission, authorize the chairman to sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. Alternatives include the following. You can deny the application by making alternative findings and overriding the Planning Commission, which would require 4 out of 5 votes, or you can return the case to the MAPC with a statement specifying the basis for the failure to approve or deny the application. This would require a simple majority or 3 of 5 votes. And with that, I'll take you through some of the slides, some of the illustrations, and then I'll stand for questions.
Okay.
So here's the aerial that you can see the multiple pits that are located on the property. Here's the map of the zoning. Again, all the properties around are rural residential zoned. Here's the future growth concept map from the comprehensive plan. It shows the proximity to the city of Mount Hope, and also you can see the county line running just about through the middle of that map. This is an illustration or a graphic that was provided by the applicants. It's a little difficult to see based on just the black and white image, but it details where they propose to have the firing ranges, where they propose to have a lodge, and the RV campground. They also provided this illustration, which shows a little bit better. So you can see the rifle range on the west, the clay pigeon range in the middle, and the pistol training a little bit further to the east. What we did is we asked them again for some different illustrations. They provided this one, and we zoomed out a little bit to show you the proximity to neighboring residences and farms. So again, you can see the different ranges there, and arrows indicating where the shots, which direction the shots would be fired. This is a map showing rural water districts. Because there were questions about possible groundwater contamination, we included this slide to show that there are no rural water districts in the area, so that property owners in the area are likely using wells for their drinking water. This is a map illustrating the distances to residents and other properties in the area, and the different colors representing different distances. Here's a map of the protest area. Again, the protests received were over 90% for this particular case. Here's some illustrations of what's being proposed to be constructed. Here's the club. Here's the rifle range, 5-stand, illustration again of the interior of the lodge. These are photos from the site. So looking west, this is towards the cell tower south of the site. This is looking at the what appear to be abandoned structures, former railroad structures in the area. This is looking on the site. And with that, I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. I don't see any questions at this time. We'll kind of run this like the MAPC does. We'll start with the applicant or agent. And is Mr. Graves, are you the applicant? Yep. Okay, we'll start with applicant or agent. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. So the planning staff report did a good job highlighting majority of what's going on, but one thing that I would like to mention is the difference in elevations that the shooting will take place on. The ground level is what we call kind of where you drive in on. It sits, I would say, 30 feet below the K96 at the property, and then where the shooting is going to take place is down in a 25 to 30 foot depression. So guidelines set forth by the NRA for gun ranges dictate 8 to 12 foot berms. So we're going to have 25 just by the way the land is set up. So one thing also that the staff report touched on that I want to highlight is the golden rules and how we hit 8 of 9 of those. The one that we don't hit is number 8 with the protest from the neighboring residents. That's kind of, there's only one residence within a quarter mile of the property line, let alone further away from the shooting. But that one specifies by itself as not sufficient for reason to approve or deny. So I'd also like to reference number 5. We spoke with Jack Heffling, Jason Smith, and Randy Dick, all of who fall in that protest area. Prior to our application, they all mentioned that they shoot down there, they hunt down there, they ride ATVs down there, and they've done so for decades. In our packet, we included a BMP and a lead mitigation plan that we created in lockstep with the EPA and NRA guidelines. So through those practices, we're going to clean up the mess that's already been created, and as well as do what's already happening down there safer and cleaner. So another part of that we didn't really touch on, and it was just apprehension of committing to creating jobs. We already have. We have a maintenance supervisor that's starting to clear. The communities use it as a dump ground. There's appliances, tires. I mean, there's all kinds of things down there that our maintenance supervisor it's truckloads. I mean, we're getting truckloads of things out there, cleaning up some brush that, deadfall, things like that. Our story was ran in a local newspaper, and since then we've received tremendous amount of interest in it. People are excited about the prospect of having a place to shoot because the other gun ranges in the community aren't taking members. So we feel confident that this will create some jobs associated with maintenance of a range and range masters and things like that. So also we worked with the K96 Corridor Economic Development Team. Kayleen Howe was working with Mayor Summers and kind of briefed him on Mayor Summers of Mount Hope, telling him, kind of what's going on. And according to her, there was a lot of excitement from him because one of their goals is a grocery store or gas station or a cafe in Mount Hope area. And they don't like people driving past Mount Hope. They'd like them to stop, and they think this helps their chance of getting something like that. So also, as the staff report suggests, with the railroad going through this and the deep depressions that the land has, there isn't much else that can be developed out there. And if we don't get the approval, it would represent a loss in the use and enjoyment of our land. So, with that, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner? Sir, you have some questions.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Excuse me.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I forgot your name again.
Tyler. Graves.
We've never met, I don't think. But when we were getting debriefed on this before, so thank you. So you explained you're shooting from an elevation downward. And
yes, sir.
Directional.
Yes, sir.
And one of my concerns was K96 being so close, but I didn't realize until you just said this. So to get to the depression from the highway from 96 to land level is how many feet again?
I would say 25 to 30. I mean, you can see the railroad track goes underneath the highway where our land's at. Now, on both ends of the land, it comes back down to ground level, and I will say none of the shooting takes place towards 96.
Well, I did notice that in our debriefing, but I was so, okay, that's really new information that I didn't have before, but I appreciate you explaining everything. So thank you for taking an interest in doing this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I don't see any other questions at this time. Next speaker is Jack Heffling. And you'll have 5 minutes, sir.
Commissioners, I'm Jack Heffling. I'm talking about this gun range. First off, it's a hole in the ground, a big hole in the ground, 29 acres. And it's been there for 60 years plus. And average rainfall in Sedgwick County is 34 inches. Well, in a year's time, you're going to have 26,773 gallons of water in the bottom of that hole collected. It goes down. I mean, it goes down. Where does the water go? It goes down. So you get an inch of rain, and you'll end up with 787,000 acres in the hole. And 2 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches is 2.3 million gallon. So where's the water go? And I've seen 8 foot of water in the bottom of that hole. And the bottom of the hole is groundwater. That's the water table. And it doesn't hold water. It'll go down to the water table, and that's it. A yes vote allows for hazardous waste disposal location consisting of copper, lead, brass, alloys, gunpowder, sulfur, charcoal, saltpeter to be deposited in these locations. The mixing of each of these materials and rainfall starts the oxidation of these contaminants. Where does the water go? Did they get every gram of it cleaned up? It's like dumping car batteries down the bottom of there. Where does it go? It seeps down to the water table, and this time it's level with the bottom of the hole. And this doesn't mention the air pollution. Ever since before the zoning hearing, I've not heard any gunfire coming from the hole, only the removal of trees, once referred to as sound barriers. These are avid gun shooters, and they own the hole. They're zoned rural residential. Why aren't they shooting down there? Spare my family, livestock, neighbors, the city of Mount Hope from the sound of gunfire daily, early morning till dark. Spare all of us from the air, soil, and water contamination that a gun range at this location would deliver. Spare yourselves from this endless list of complaints and compliance regulations that you've never even thought of. Vote no for the rezoning. If you're not taking anything away from the purchasers. They never had it to begin with. But you would be taking a lot away from the landowners and neighbors, the ones that signed the protest forms, the irrigation wells that pumps out water and they need it for the livestock and the land. Let the record show indicating that this is not wanted. Do not do what you are commissioned to do and serve the people who live and who have lived in the county for several decades. Vote on the facts and not the promises. And that's it. My questions?
I don't see any questions right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Audrey Heffling. Good morning. State your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Audrey Heffling. I live at 10255 North, 295th Street West in Mount Hope. I'm speaking in regards to the case CON 2022-0004, which is the rezoning of a parcel of land west of Mount Hope. I'm thanking you for this opportunity to speak, and I intend to read this statement simply so I can remain brief and on task. Let me begin by saying that I'm a teacher for over 40 years. Then I just can't resist the urge to educate a little bit, so please bear with me with this. In 1937, the city of Wichita held a contest with a $40 prize. The winning design was the Wichita flag, and it was created by Charles Cecil McAllister, who was a longtime resident and a local artist. The choices Mr. McAllister made were intentional in both graphics and color. The flag had a blue sun from which red and white rays radiated. According to information about the flag, the blue was selected for the sun because the color blue represents peace, contentment, and happiness. Red and white rays are intended to suggest freedom, paths to come and go. And the white symbol emblazoned across the sun is an Indian symbol for home. Recently, this flag has enjoyed a resurgence in popularity. I'm sure you're all aware of that. Why? Well, one reason is because the values it represents. People in Sedgwick County value peace, contentment, and home. Those of us that are opposing the rezoning of the property named in this case have shared numerous practical reasons to leave the zoning as rural residential. These include the dangers to the land, water, adults, children, and livestock. I'm wondering if any of you noted last Saturday that there was quite a bit of information on the news about shootings at ballparks, baseball diamonds. I saw the report on this and I'm stunned because as an educator, we already are trying to protect our children. But there's a baseball diamond at the school, which is, as previously noted, is slightly over a half-mile east of this proposed site. Speaking as an educator, I must reiterate that you never condition children to ignore something that's potentially dangerous to them. I'm speaking specifically about the gunfire in this case. But here's my final thought. The individuals purchased this property and with full knowledge of the assigned zoning status. It is zoned as rural residential because that's what it is, rural residential. It is homes for families. And I know it's been stated there's only one home, but I can tell you, this lady sitting right back here, if I wanted to, I could throw a rock and hit her house. That's how close she is, but she's just outside the border, so it wasn't noted. There's also families that live right across the road from us, just a short distance. It is homes for families, fields, and land for grazing livestock. The map shows that 92% of the adjacent property owners oppose the rezoning. Actually, it should have shown 100% because that's the truth. But the county's failure to properly notify the neighbors caused some problems for the protest to be filed in a timely manner, so they weren't counted, but they're there. I've been told that an increase in taxes from the property in question would be motivation to rezone. How do you know what kind of tax dollars are actually going to be generated? There's no guarantee that the proposed plans for the property will ever materialize as presented, and that the county would benefit financially once income and expenses are balanced. The truth is that once rezoned, the property could become anything they so desire with little or no supervision. What you do know for a fact is the tax dollars that have been paid by the farmers surrounding the land for literally decades. They pay property taxes on farm ground and farmsteads, and taxes on the income generated in their fields and with the livestock sales. To disregard the contributions of these hardworking men and women and disrespect the desires of these longtime residents is unacceptable. I attended the Zoning Commission meeting when they voted on their recommendation. It appears that they had not quite done their homework regarding this case. When actually coming to the meeting, they asked where Mount Hope is even located. They didn't know. That, and in itself, tells me that they did little preparation prior to casting their all-important vote. In addition, one member went so far as to mock those protesting the zoning change. Not only was that unprofessional, it was completely inappropriate. I hope that you have carefully researched the facts and are prepared to make a responsible decision while doing so, and that you treat the residents of Sedgwick County with the respect that they deserve. So I thank you for your time. I do want to say one thing because I hadn't seen all of these maps until today. When I look at that map where the clay pigeons are going to be shot, I don't know, I'm not an experienced shooter, I'll be honest with you, I'm not, but I have seen it, and I've seen clay pigeons and they fly in the air, and that is shooting directly at us. So even though it's at a depression, if you're shooting in the air at those pigeons in the air, you are shooting at us. I have grandchildren, I have children, I have friends and family members, and I don't want to be shut out. So thank you very much for your time. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't see any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Can I speak?
Well, that's what I was going to get ready for. That's everyone that has signed up to speak today, but is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Ma'am, approach the podium, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
My name's Mary Dick. What do you need? My name and what?
State your name,
Just
and you
my
have
name.
5 minutes.
Okay. My name's Mary Dick, and I'm the one that is not shown on any of the maps. And like Audrey said, we can throw a rock at each other. And my vote was one of them that didn't count when it come in because I hadn't signed both names. Well, my husband's deceased, so there was no way I could sign his name. And then I just want to say that it's a sorry state of affairs if money is more important than the welfare and safety of your people. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz, in just a moment, ma'am. You have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. So I guess I just want to address the fact that of the signing of the name. What's that? Can someone help me understand why she wasn't able to?
Because when he took them in, the papers in, and that we needed to bring in for our protest, they didn't count mine because I hadn't signed both pages, both names.
And your husband has been deceased for
And
how-
my husband has been deceased for 1.5 years.
Okay. So why wasn't that taken into consideration?
You tell me.
That's what I'm asking. So you might just hold on just a second.
Oh,
Show
I'm
the map.
sorry.
No, you do. You're fine. I just want to go to the map of the protests that were submitted. So what we will do is if we get a protest and it's not valid, for instance, it doesn't have all the signatures of the property owners, we will still note it on the map. In this case, you can see that the red ones, which were valid protests, there is a green one down here, which is an invalid protest because it's late. Is your property shown on this map?
No.
Okay, so it's
not.
outside of this area.
I'm just right in here.
Okay, so it appears you're right in this area?
Yes.
No, to the right. You're just south of that other indication, right there.
Right in here?
Yep.
Okay. The blue is a protest that was submitted and was submitted in a valid fashion. However, it is outside of the protest area, so it is shown in blue. Per state statute, what we count towards the percentage of the protest is the percentage of the area within the protest area. So we are recognizing, you can even see these properties up here, which are colored blue because they were a valid protest that was submitted, but it was outside of the protest area, so therefore it doesn't count towards the percentage. But we still show it on a map so that you can see that it's represented as a protest.
Okay, so you're saying that it was accepted. It was, what was the word you used?
My understanding is that her property is in this area.
Sure.
It is probably colored red or blue, and that would show that it was a valid protest that was submitted. If it's blue, it's outside of the protest area, the legal protest area. However, it is still a protest that is shown on this map to indicate that they were protesting it.
Then how come we got notification that mine didn't count? Because both signatures were on there.
I'm not aware of the intricacies of that particular instance. What I can speak to is I can speak to the map. But
The map's not going to answer you.
But if your property is shown in blue or in red, it is shown as a valid protest. Now, why you would have received information that it was not a valid protest, I'm not sure. Because it is shown, if it's shown on this map as valid, that's how we're classifying it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so if we could, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Mary.
Mary what?
Dick, D-I-C-K.
Okay. So Mary, I'd like to check into this for you and see, just to make sure about the signatures and make sure that this doesn't happen again, if that is in fact the case.
Okay.
Would that be okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
But from the explanation that Scott gave us, it was a valid protest. It's just outside the protest area.
Okay. But like I said, we got information that one that wasn't signed and
that's, just allow me, Chairman, to speak for just a second. And that's what I want to verify. What communication did you receive, Mary, from MABCD, and how can we make sure that it was, in fact, validated?
Jack, what information did you receive that mine wasn't valid?
It's right here.
If I could, I can go ahead and speak to this.
Okay.
So what it appears like what happened based on what we're hearing about and what we're seeing here, there's a map here. It's the same map, except that her property is actually colored yellow, which in the legend says invalid protest. What I assume has happened is that this was the initial map that came out after the issue was discovered, brought to our attention. It looks like we revisited it, discovered that since your husband is deceased, that you were the sole property owner, so therefore that signature counted as a valid protest, having one signature on it. So you can see it's reflected in the map as a valid protest.
So
Not
is
in
there
that map?
In this map, it is shown as blue, and there's a slight portion of red, because in the cases when we calculate the protest area, it's based on a certain distance away from the property, the application property. So you can see that your portion of your property is actually included in the legal protest area and is colored red. The portion of your property that is outside of it is protest outside of the calculation area. So we did recognize it as a valid protest. It's just where it fell in the boundary of the legal protest area.
So initially, though, it wasn't.
That is correct.
Okay.
And once the issue was brought to our attention, it looks like we revisited that and got that corrected.
Okay, so how do we ensure if this situation comes up in the future that it's caught the first time?
Well, in this case, what we do is we go off the county records of ownership, and so we look for those signatures that are on the county records for the owners, and it's when things are brought to our attention. I'll defer to Justin on this one.
Commissioner Cruz, Justin Wagoner, Assistant County Counselor. The County Clerk's Office maintains a transfer record, which is the owners of record for each property. That gets updated when people file deeds with the Register of Deeds office. When someone passes away, they will get updated, but it's not instantaneous. I would imagine in this case, I haven't been asked to review any of this prior to right now, but I would imagine that Ms. Dick's husband was still listed as a property owner on the transfer record when the protest was filed. And so, I mean, it probably came to light at some point down the process, as Scott Wadle mentioned, but there's really no way for planning staff to know any more information what the clerk's office has on file on these when protests come in.
So would there be a way to identify how long it takes for the clerk's office to update its records?
Yeah, I guess what I would say from experience is some of it depends upon, a lot of times it's just simply when a property owner will inform them that, someone has passed away, they may get proof of death. Quite often, there may be a property owner whose property passes through probate, they have a trust. There's all kinds of different ways that can occur. And under state law, all of the owners of record have to sign the protest petition. So the MAPD staff was handling this in the ordinary course. For your purposes, I do think it's important to point out, because to the extent that this property is outside the 1,000-foot area, not saying it's not relevant for showing neighborhood opposition, but it is not relevant for the calculation of the 20% under state law. And again, this property is well in excess of that with 90+% protest petition. So, I mean, in terms of what this does for your vote requirement, whether it was counted or not counted would not make any difference in that regard.
Thank you, Justin. I just want to be sensitive to this. This is a sensitive thing, I'm sure, Mary. And when we're talking about, your husband who has passed away, I'm sure that brings up some emotional things for you as far as how this is working out, not just only because of the potential change in land usage, but because you yourself as the property owner weren't able to get it right on the first time, right? We didn't get it right on the first time for you. So I want to apologize for that, because I'm sure that wasn't an easy thing to deal with. As women, we have to deal with a lot of things as far as being under husbands and all of that. So I want to make sure that you understand I value you here today. I hear what you're saying, and I hope that we can change it in the future so no widow has to go through that like you did. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
And I beg you to please vote it down.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. I've got a couple questions for, let's start with Scott, okay? Let me clarify that one of the items that has come up from the discussions today and from my ex parte contact that is with lead contamination of the water source. Did the MAPC consider this when they sent the recommendation to the county commission?
Sir, the question had come up at the MAPC by one of the members of the Planning Commission. Once that question got asked, I reached out to Environmental Resources staff to see if there might be an issue with that. They responded indicating that yes, there may be. It would be something to look into. The MAPC was still listening to the case. I got an opportunity to speak and let them know that there may be the potential. The same member who asked the question about the possibility of lead contamination made a motion to defer this case so that they could learn more about that. That motion died for lack of a second. So the MAPC proceeded to hear the case and ultimately rendered a recommendation of approval. So no, they did not hear or learn about the possibility of lead contamination in depth.
Okay, very good. Another legal consideration on the protest area. Anytime that it's got more than 20%, it keys the requirement for us to have 4/5 of the commission, correct?
That is correct.
So I just want to make clear that we're way past 20% on this protest area. So I appreciate everything that you said, but I just want to be clear that 20% is really the cutoff, and we're at 91.96 right now. So it does key the requirement for us to have 4 out of 5 of the commissioners to vote in favor of this if that's what the decision of the board is. Okay. Another question that I've got, do we have a map? I thought I saw one on the direction of the bullets that or the projectiles that will be fired on this property?
Yes, sir. This may be the best map that we've got. We've got this one, but they both show the same thing. So the trajectory from the rifle range is in this direction based on the arrows. The clay pigeon area, the arrows indicate more of a south and westerly direction. And then for the pistol, there's no arrows on here, but based on the lines for the berms and the range, they would be firing south.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Howell has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of questions, actually. So the speakers that spoke today didn't really spend any time talking about the RV aspect of this conditional use. Is there any, am I missing something? They talked about the northwest portion of this is for up to 6, I guess, RV placements, I guess. And I didn't hear any comments on either side. No one spoke about that today. Am I missing something?
No, I believe that that's correct. I would point out that there has been a letter that was included as part of the packet that did address that to some degree. But no, today no one has spoken about RVs.
So to perceive this as non-controversial, this part of this is non-controversial, no one has anything to say about that regardless, there's no support or opposition to that part of this proposal today? I guess not. Okay, so I am curious, but this is packaged up into one conditional use proposal.
I have something to say about the RV.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know.
One legal point is that by virtue of filing a protest, they have in fact protested the entire application, which is for both conditional uses.
Could the applicant have done this in 2 conditional use applications, but they did it together? I mean, this is all packaged together.
They could, yes. They could have broken it up.
curiously, are we allowed to consider these separately? Are we able to divide the question?
I'll defer to legal on that one.
Commissioner Hal, Justin Wagner again. I believe you could. You could approve a lesser scope of this. You could modify the conditions. It would still require the 4 votes.
Okay, all right. A couple of other questions. I don't know if this is appropriate or not. If it's not appropriate, please shut me down, but I am just curious. To those that spoke today, do you use well water for drinking? They're indicating yes, they do. Do you have your water tested frequently? Make sure it's safe for drinking.
It hasn't been lately. It's going to be.
You have to speak at the podium, I'm sorry.
We've had it tested in the past over the years. I told my daughter to pick up a vial to bring out from the lab so I can get it tested, but it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, we want to test it. That's a good idea. I mean, I told the applicants they should test where we're at before we start what they got going, because that way you know where you're at. Because they're saying they're going to clean up a mess that's already there existing. That's not true.
Do all of the homes there use well water for drinking, or is there rural water options?
No rural water. It's all personal wells.
Okay.
And they've got irrigation wells, which is also probably 4 of them within a 3,000-foot area. And they draw water when they're running irrigation, and that's taking it away. The water from that hole that could be contaminated from lead takes it and draws it to them irrigation wells. In turn, goes up in the air and on the crops and into the ground.
All right, maybe another question for our planning folks here. Thank you. Does our master plan, what do they call it now? Does it cover this in any way?
The comprehensive plan?
Comprehensive plan, I'm sorry.
It shows it as rural residential, and these are conditional uses that can be approved in rural residential, so it doesn't specifically address shooting ranges or RV parks, but these would be land uses that could be allowed in rural residential. Okay, so yes, it would be consistent.
I would not, so in my opinion, that's not a conflict with our comprehensive plan then. Okay, very good. With regards to the lead issue, I assume that the state and federal regulations on lead contamination will whatever that is, they have to comply with those regulations. And so it's almost, I don't know that the county has much to say about that. If there's a state or federal regulation requirement, they're going to have to comply with whatever those regulations require.
I'm going to look to environmental resources to see if they've got any additional information.
Susan Erlewine with Environmental Resources. You have federal guidelines as to how much of any chemical can be in drinking water. Unfortunately, a lot of that happens after the fact, like dry cleaner contamination or others that you're aware of, that they go in and test the water and then determine that it does have that chemical in it. But they do have limits. For lead, I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head.
Is there some type of I'm not a drinking water expert, obviously. So, if the water was not safe to drink, typically, has there ever been some type of liability or some type of mitigation made for those people that providing drinking water? Is there so much per year that someone would not be provided for drinking, but bathing is acceptable, washing dishes is acceptable, but drinking maybe not so much? I don't really know how to weigh all those different types of uses, for example.
When drinking water becomes contaminated, we've seen this recently down in Hayesville with a dry cleaner. The state came in with they have a dry cleaning fund to help pay to hook the people up to the city of Hayesville's water. It cost a lot of money to start running water lines to everyone who had private water wells in that area, hook them up to the sewer system as well. Quite extensive, took couple of years to get it done. In the meantime, they often require for drinking water to be supplied by bottled water to those residents in the meantime. You see this with high nitrate levels from fertilizer as well. Pretty Prairie went through this not that long ago from high nitrates. EPA came in, so they had to build a water treatment plant. in the area that cost $2 million to supply drinking water to their residents. So the EPA has the ability to say, now you have to put in drinking water supply and treat the water that is contaminated.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but is there any way to treat water that has this type of contamination to make it safe for drinking?
There are ways to put in removal systems, yes, but it's expensive.
Like, for example, an RO system for drinking water. Again, I don't know if bathing is the same, or clothes washing, or washing the car, or watering the plants. If it's all the same concern, but drinking water, I think an RO system, I would assume, would in fact make this safe to drink.
It depends on the RO system. They're not all identical, but yes, you can do that. But as you said, with the lawn or anything else, now you have the water soaking back into the ground or running off. That could be contaminated.
All right, I have a question on the planning document once again. Thank you. So it's really hard to tell by looking at the shooting directions, but the rifle range is kind of pointed towards that house to the southwest on the map. And I don't know, you talk about 25-foot berm. Is that the one that's 25? They're all 25-foot berms? Is that what I understand?
This one is probably best described on page 2 of the staff report. And they're under the heading Outdoor Recreation and Entertainment. There's a line item there for rifle range. It describes that it would have 2 stations for shooters to fire at targets located at the bottom of a 25 to 30-foot depression in the middle of the site, and indicates that the target areas will be up against an earthen wall. The depression and a berm will be installed in areas not covered by the natural wall. That the shooting action will be oriented downward towards the bottom of the depression.
Okay, what about things like ricochets? Any concern about, does that kind of cover the issue of ricochets then, or?
I would defer that to the applicant to give you a better description of what they propose to address those situations.
Well, maybe we'll get to that in a minute then. I guess my next question for you would be this: on the back page of the staff report, towards the end, actually, maybe it's. Let me find it real quickly here. Talks about noise mitigations and sound levels and that type of thing.
Yes, sir.
My background in the airplane testing world, we got into this some of these terms and some of these types of tests, and he talks about exceed 90 decibels for 1 hour out of 24 hours and that type of thing. One of my concerns is that's not defined as exceeding like one time, like a single exceedance, or is it an average decibel? Because that really doesn't say here. And I would say the way that firing ranges work, there's going to be moments where it's loud when the guns are being fired, and between those shots it's going to be fairly quiet. So as an average sound measurement, I don't think you're going to exceed the 90. That's fairly high, actually. But again, it also doesn't determine where it's measured. Is it measured in front of the gun, behind the gun, with distance from the gun? We don't know. Where is this measured? We don't. In other words, these terms are really not useful. The way this is defined right now in this paper, it doesn't really. An engineer couldn't use it. I'm an engineer. I couldn't use this to determine exactly whether this is exceeded or not. So to me, it's just not very useful the way this is written, because there's not location of measurements and how it's weighted and averages versus peaks and all that. I mean, it really isn't very helpful. Go ahead.
I can certainly appreciate that, sir. And this is just a screenshot clip from this guide by Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. We can certainly look into that more. Noise did come up as part of the discussion at the Planning Commission, and that is captured in the minutes from there. The applicants did go out and conduct a test, but again, it was not with a sound engineer, or it was something that they conducted themselves. If you would like, we can ask them to have additional research done into that, but that would be a request.
Well, I'll just say there's a lot of sound measurement is not easy. It is. It's more complicated than maybe a lot of people would think. Mm-hmm. And it depends on how it's weighted and where it's measured and what type of device are they using, and is it calibrated and is it traceable. There's lots of aspects of this for this to be a threat, for this to be a consideration. I think we have to have more data than what's been presented in this area. Generally speaking, well, I shouldn't go there yet. Hang on a second.
Well, if I could, sir, I hear some people flipping around, perhaps trying to find this information, and I'd like to share that this is information that was shown as part of a PowerPoint show at the Planning Commission, and we included this slide at the end of the PowerPoint for this occasion, just in case these questions did come up.
Okay. Since you're still there, did the MAPC members or the CAB board members articulate reasons? Those that voted no, did they articulate the reasons why they voted no?
That is a good question. I would have to look at the notes to check and see on that.
Okay, I'll give you some time on that one. This may be a question for Commissioner Dennis, actually. So, Chairman Dennis, I have a question. This did go before your CAB board, is that correct?
This is what?
This went before your CAB board?
It did go before the CAB board, but they did not hear anything about the lead.
Okay. All right, I have some process questions whether this should even go before a CAB board, but that's maybe for another day. But the intent of a CAB board is to encourage a commissioner to kind of vote the way they want you to vote. They're there to influence a commissioner to vote the way the CAB board thinks is best, and that's the whole point of a CAB board. And there's a hearing. I assume there's a hearing at the CAB board, and so this is now the third time. Because you had to appear before MAPC, you had to appear before the CAB board. I assume everybody showed up and spoke. I don't know if they did or not. And this is now the third stop on the hearings. If we send this back to MAPC, that'll be a fourth, and maybe comes back here again, that'll be fifth. And so the numerous hearings back to back. One thing that's different from the city and the county is the city council does not typically conduct a hearing. They have a DAB board that conducts a hearing, and so that's their second hearing. But the intent of a DAB board or a CAB board in this case is to influence the commissioner to see their side and encourage them to vote the way that they think is best. But I have concerns about that entire thing. I don't personally think we should take property rights cases to CAB boards, and so I'm concerned about that influence in this process. I wish we wouldn't do that. That's my personal opinion. In fact, on my CAB board, they're prohibited from hearing property rights cases for that very reason. So I am concerned about their influence on this process. I think you have an answer for my previous question, Mr. Waddle.
We do. So in looking at the notes from the MAPC, which is included as part of the packet on page 9 of those notes, you'll note that there was a discussion by two of the members, Cunningham and Fox. Cunningham was, both of them voted against the motion to recommend approval. The Commissioner Cunningham had spoken out about the groundwater contamination and possibility of that. Commissioner Fox had brought up compatibility issues with the surroundings, so noise, quality of life issues. Neither of them stated that as their reasons, but you can see that in the notes leading up to the vote.
Well, in terms of quality of life and does it match the nature or character of the neighborhood, I would assume people shoot guns out there now. Is that current? I mean, does anybody talk about the fact that the people in the country shoot guns all the time? I assume that is a fairly normal thing that happens all the time. So, and they might not shoot. This is from certain hours of the day. There's hours limitations already built into this proposal today. But people who are not under this conditional use, they might shoot guns at different times of the day. Am I right about that?
That is entirely possible, and I think we've heard a couple of people mention the firing of guns in the area today.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to sit back and listen to the rest of the conversation. I'm not sure I'm ready to vote yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. So I guess there's a lot to consider when we're looking at this. And, I understand that supporting small business is vital to the growth of our county. And when I support a business, I want to support it for the long term, 25. I hope that you're in business for a very long time. But with that, I am concerned with our water table here. I'm concerned by just simply looking into this on the web, and I hope that Susan will come up here in just a second to discuss some of her findings, because we didn't really hear from her as far as the groundwater analysis. But so I'm looking at this environmental working group, lead pollution at outdoor firing ranges. And it talks about the military's response to contamination as it's and its range illustrates the potential magnitude of the problem. It just talks about, just real briefly here, a single shot from a .30-30 Winchester containing 8.1 grams of lead could contaminate about 370 cubic feet. So let me just wrap that up in saying it's the equivalent of 56 bathtubs filled with Superfund site dirt. The lead in just one bullet from a .22 caliber rifle could contaminate 1 day's worth of drinking water for the entire population of Salt Lake City with a level of lead deemed unsafe by the EPA. So this is like a complete, if it totally dissolved, right? This also talks about the amount of lead used in one bullet production over a period of 4 years would be enough to contaminate the entire state of Rhode Island at Superfund levels to the depth of 1 foot. So I read this to say that when we talk about the groundwater here and how these neighbors access their drinking water, it's from a well. And if we talk about the long term of this business, if not mitigated correctly, which I do see in here that you have some plans to mitigate some of this, but I guess I would like just a lot more detail around what you're going to do, because this talks about, I think you make a statement in here, you'll hire an outside firm to handle this. Which outside firm would you hire? What are their credentials? How long have they been doing it? Those are some of the things. So, Susan, with the things that I've mentioned here, and also one other consideration you have mentioned in here is the options for non-lead ammunition. And I did see on one of the ranges that it will be non-lead, which is the clay pigeon shot. But could we consider non-lead for the whole entire place? That's one question. But to the extent of, Susan, I'd like for you to talk about your groundwater analysis, if you will, and maybe reiterate some of the things, or if I'm way off on what I've mentioned here,
No.
Please elaborate.
Okay. Looking through the Sedgwick County Soil Survey, the Kansas Geological Survey well data in the area, plus their publications, the United States Geological Survey publications on Sedgwick County and their groundwater. This area is considered very porous and permeable with good sand and gravel. It yields a high amount of water for each water well that's pumped. Usually a residential well is 100 gallons a minute because it's a smaller pump. Irrigation wells, 1,200 gallons a minute. You're looking at an area that's an old terrace posits or alluvial posits where the rivers have gone back and forth, meandered over time, depositing their sands. So it's considered a very good aquifer with good water being drawn out of it. Also, looking at the well data, for example, in the southeast corner of this section, right southeast of where these pits are, I found well data from a well drilled in 1975. It's in this very southeast part of this section that we're looking at. And it had a static water table after the well was drilled at 15 feet below the surface of the ground. Water tables rise and fall from influence around the area. So more rainwater will raise the water table. Droughts can lower it. Also, excess pumping. If all of the irrigation pumps are going on, they can draw water toward those pumps and move it through the soil to those areas. And if you're looking at a pit that's 25 feet deep to 26 feet deep from the surface, I'm sure any water that you see at the bottom is connected to the groundwater in the area. It's exchanging. So if you had a lot of rain, the water level would rise in the pit. Over time, it could lower and fluctuate. So if you're shooting down into the bottom of the pit, that could be adding lead directly to the groundwater in the area. They did provide best management practices, as you mentioned, that they would look at and follow, dig out the lead from the area. Lead reacts with more acidic rainfall or water, so below 7 pH, the leaching of the lead would occur and it would go into the water. They mentioned testing the soil to see what the pH would be, adding lime if the pH gets too low. The thing about lead is soft and it fragments. I included photos in my report of a lead bullet. Once it hits, it fragments and spreads out. There are very good x-rays that you can see where lead that's in an animal spreads out and you have particles all through the animal, whereas a copper bullet, steel, you have tungsten bullets, bismuth, they're made of different materials, can go in and they collapse, but they don't fragment and spread out through the animal. So there are different ammunitions out there that could be used instead of lead. Price-wise, they're about 30% more expensive. Some of the articles I've read shows, but compared to the price of the rifle and the scope and everything else, it's minuscule cost for the sport on having a non-lead bullet. That would also say you're not putting lead into the groundwater or even have to dig some of that out as frequently as they were looking at because it wouldn't be lead. Hunters have known it to be gut the animals out and leave material behind after a kill and take what they want. Scavengers then eat what's left and often end up with lead in their body. State of California's outlawed lead, and other states are looking at it due to the condor in California with food being accumulated through the food chain. The lead goes up in the food chain and animals are affected. So it is an ecological problem. Just like we had lead in cars and we went from leaded gasoline to unleaded, today you can still go along the main highways, test the soil along the highways and find high levels of lead from the exhaust from vehicles from back in the pre-70s. So lead does get into the environment in different ways and can stay there.
Thank you, Susan, for that explanation and for providing this information to us. I think that's my biggest concern. I want to support a business that will hopefully grow in our community, but I also want to support healthy drinking water for those who rely on this water. Water is life. So I think I'm just not ready to vote in favor of this today because of those questions. And so when the time comes, whatever motion is made, that's why I'm going to vote the way I vote, just simply because I would like more information around groundwater issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify for the record. I know that previously, Commissioner Howell, you had mentioned the role of CABs and DABs and advisory boards, and you used the word influence a number of times. And I don't know if you meant to actually use that word, but I just want to be on record that I know Commissioner Dennis and I have talked about this a lot, that we do use. I use my advisory board when I was at the city and currently for information and value opinion if somebody has a background in that issue that they're talking about. But I still do not take their influence as part of my vote, even though, and I've actually, as I learn more, I've gone against what my DAB or CAB has said, but it's still, as an elected official, I still have to make my decision, regardless of and I think influence was a term that's, I just want to, sure, I just want to be on the record that I'm not influenced.
I think everybody does it differently. That's fine. I just would note, these are called advisory boards for a reason. They're advising us. Right. They issue an opinion, which is why they vote. And to that point, we're trying to stay on the fence and have no bias whatsoever coming into this hearing. I intentionally, and almost to a point where people actually get upset with me because they want me to respond and ask questions and dig in deep before the hearing. I really don't want to do that. I do my research during the hearing as I listen to people. I take your comments and I receive those and I figure out whether it's credible or I believe it or I don't believe it or whatever it is. I do that during the hearing. And so the whole point of an advisory board is to advise the commissioner. If we can take the advice from an advisory board and not let that influence us, that's great.
Commissioner Howell, we're really pressed for time.
Okay.
And we're kind of off track.
All right, with that, I do have other questions when you're ready. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Let me ask a couple quick questions because we were really getting off track. I want to make sure that we can divide this property and vote on one half of it, not the other. Can we do that?
Chairman, yes, you can do that. I would say if that's the will of the board, or if there's a thought of making a motion to that effect, it may make sense to ask the applicant if they would have any objection to that. They may prefer one half of this application over the other half in terms of moving it forward or not moving it forward. But I do think you could approve a portion of it if that's what you would like to do.
Well, my request about being able to divide it is, I think at this point in time, we need to, if we can move forward with portion of it, and that's the RV park, and send it back to the MAPC because they did not consider the lead.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I think I misunderstood your question initially. I don't think you would be able to approve part of. I don't think you can bifurcate it where you approve one part and send one part back to the Planning Commission, for example. I think because I think you could approve a portion of it and not approve another portion of it, but I don't think you can have the case going on two completely different tracks from here, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I think we've discussed this at great detail at this point in time. I move that we return this to the MAPC so they consider information that was not available when they heard this case on March the 17th regarding the potential of groundwater contamination resulting from the use of lead ammunition, including any potential mitigation measures. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I can support the motion, but I do at some point want to provide just a little bit of information about some of the things that have come up so far, and that is, I've already articulated my concerns about the sound level measurements. I hope that gets cleaned up a little bit before it comes back. In one of the comments made in the backup material, someone was worried about someone being drunk with a firearm. As a state legislator in my former elected office, we passed a law specifically. In fact, I wrote the law. Specifically, it says if you are in possession of a firearm and you have a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher, that is a same as a DUI. So in possession of a firearm with a 0.08 or higher is against the law already. Last thing, someone made a comment about shotguns being shot towards a home. It's very easy to research this. Shotgun has a maximum range of about 35 to 38 yards. And that's well beyond, that's well within a safe distance for this proposal. So those are not concerns of mine right now. That is not a concern. But the issue of, I didn't hear someone present this, and so Commissioner Cruz mentioned this. I'm not sure where it is in the material about whether or not steel shot would be required for the clay pigeon portion of this. But if that's a requirement, I guess I'd like to understand that more deeply because steel shot's really hard on guns. I don't know if that's part of the requirement here or not. And with respect to the lead, if they are going to be using lead shot, I guess I'd like to have that clarified that is allowed. And then with respect to non-lead bullets for pistols and rifles, I really don't think that's a good idea, and for other technical reasons. But the concern is about the lead. That's one thing. In mitigating drinking water, that's a concern. There's ways of doing that, perhaps. But I don't know that that's. There's just so many different things that have been brought up today. I also like to point out the issue that we also raised, actually passed a county ordinance just recently. It talks about if a bullet travels across into someone else's property, that there's actually liability aspects of that. I'm not sure that was referenced in any discussion up to this point, but that to me also plays into this. And so the property owners that are adjacent to this do have property rights. And I don't think that's has been really highlighted today. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll support the motion so far, but I think there's a lot more to this. We don't have time for it apparently, so I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
Okay, and Commissioners, we will not have an executive session today because we are totally out of time. We will have to have a special meeting in the future, probably this week, in order to be able to cover the things that we have to cover during the executive session that will not take place today. So I will have Lisa and Carol get with your calendars to figure out exactly when we can schedule a special meeting in the very, very near future, because we have to have all 5 commissioners here in order to be able to conduct a special meeting. Commissioner Lopez, or Commissioner Cruz, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And also thank you for the time to discuss this matter. I think it's important to make sure that we figure out all of the things that need to be discussed. Commissioner Howell, to your question around the non-lead shot, it is mentioned on page 49 in our backup materials. It's mentioned under being stewards of the environment, and it's number 2. Yeah, so, and then it also mentions the other mitigation efforts there as well. Thank you, Chairman, for the ability to speak.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And for the applicant, what this means is that with 3 votes, we can send this back to the MASPC. They'll take a look at the areas that they did not look at the previous time, and after they vote, it will come back to the Board of County Commissioners in the future. I just want to make sure that you understand what the process is going forward. Do you have any questions on that?
I do have one.
Go to the mic, please.
I do have one question for Mr. Howell, and it's just so we're prepared for when this does come back. The county doesn't have a noise ordinance. Do we need to address that?
Just my comment is, since there is sound regulations built into this conditional use, what I saw in the back there was talking about 90 decibels for 1 hour, no more than 1 hour out of a 24-hour period.
That was suggested by the NRA's guidelines for gun ranges.
Then I don't want it in this package, if that's okay. Because if it's not going to be a regulation that we're going to abide by, then why is it in here?
Yes, sir. We'll make sure it's not in the packet in the future.
And for what it's worth, as it's currently worded, it makes no sense anyway, so I'd rather just get it removed. That would be a lot better. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I don't see any other comments. Again, I want to make sure that the applicants know that the process will go back to the MAPC, come back to the board here in the future. So that is if it passes. Oh, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Okay, we will hear this again probably in a month or so. We're going to skip item Foxtrot. We'll go to item golf, Madam Clerk.
Item G, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on April 28th, 2022.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Director of Purchasing. The regular meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts results in 7 items that we're presenting to you this afternoon. Our first item is change order number 3, first floor traffic court remodel for facilities maintenance and project services. The recommendation is to accept the change order number 3 for the first floor traffic court remodel from Van Asdale Construction, LLC, in the amount of $31,709. Item number 2 is bridge improvements for Public Works. This is the bridge on 143rd Street East between 69th and 77th Streets North. The recommendation is to accept the low bid from Claver Construction Company, and that's in the amount of $564,564.05. Item number 3 is Charisse Woods Addition, Street Improvements, Phase 2, Public Works. This recommendation is to accept the low bid from Pearson Construction, LLC, in the amount of $189,877. Item number 4 is Medical Services, Department of Corrections. This recommendation is to accept the negotiated proposal from Vital Core Health Strategies, LLC, for the contracted pricing shown effective January 1st, 2023, and that's for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew. Item number 5, Medical Services for the Sheriff's Office. This recommendation is to accept the proposal from Vital Core Health Strategies, LLC, also for the contracted price as shown. It too will start at January 1st, 2023 for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew. Item number 6 is on-call moving and delivery services, facilities maintenance, project services, and this recommendation is to accept the bid from Thomas Transfer and Storage Company, establish contract rates for 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew. Our final item, item 7, Sedgwick County BOCC temp move for the audio-visual upgrade, Communications Division of Information Technologies. This recommendation is to utilize the TIPS or TIPS contract 200904 with Conference Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $127,058. And funding for this project is being provided by the American Rescue Plan. I'll try to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of the items.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions on boards and bids and contracts? Seeing nothing, I move that we approve board and bids and contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Chairman and Commission. Tom Stoltz, County Manager's Office. Recommend approval of consent items H through L.
Move to approve hotel through Lima.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And we skipped the legislative portion on item Foxtrot, so we'll skip it here. Committee reports, is there anything that needs to be reported from committee today? Seeing nothing. Anybody have anything for other today? I don't see anything. The executive session, as I said, we will hold a special meeting here in the near future. Commissioner Cruz, I'm sorry.
Excuse me for that. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned my Citizens Advisory Board next week will be held at the Park City City Hall chambers. We are going to have a Let's Talk Budgets discussion, an interactive discussion with both Park City's officials and Sedgwick County officials. The event starts at 6 o'clock. We hope that you will join us, as it will be a chance for the community to showcase the things that are important to them when talking about our upcoming budget to be ratified in August. So I hope that you can make that event next Monday at 6 o'clock in Park City at the City Hall building. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else for other? Okay, Mr. Manager, what time are we going to start our 12:30 meeting?
It's 12:20. Let's go at 12:45.
12:45. Okay, grab a quick bite to eat. We are adjourned till 12:45, but it's a budget hearing, not a board meeting. We are adjourned from the board meeting.
Yeah, this one that he presented? Yeah. Do you need a printout?